right, we ready?
There's a rumble in the distance, something stirring up the ground. Coffee shops and corner stores, people talking all around. But the words they're speaking softly got a weight that pulls you down. Something's moving through the grapevine, word by word from town to town. And they lean in close to tell you what they heard somebody say. But the truth gets bent and twisted as it travels on its way. Who do you trust when the talk gets low? Who do you trust when the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow? Who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? Backroom deals and handshake promises sliding underneath the door. Politicians playing poker with the chips are rich and poor. Every word's a calculation, every pause worth so much more. While the people keep on waiting for the truth they're hungry for. And they lean in close to tell you what they heard somebody say. But the truth gets bent and twisted as it travels on its way. Who do you trust when the talk gets low? Who do you trust when the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow? Do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? Thicker, every lie becomes the truth, and the honest voices calling sound like strangers in the booth. We're all just trying to listen to the static and the noise, but the loudest information drowns out the quieter voice. Who do you trust when the talk gets low? Who you trust when the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow? Who you trust? Tell me who do you trust? Who you trust? Do you trust? Do you trust? Do you trust when the whispers grow?
Good evening, everybody. This is the Political Theater, episode 115. So, obviously, the number one story is the Mustache has been indicted. It is a happy day. It is a very happy day, and we've been talking about this and waiting for this for, I don't know, since the day that they raided his house, which was beautiful. So, that's great news. We got great news coming out of that. And then we also had this evening the Jay Jones and G. Mayoris debate, which was a just absolute clown show. I think I wrote it all down. I think he said Trump's name 47 times. I'm not joking. It was actually 47, which we were actually debating whether or not he actually did that intentionally because he's the 47th president. But I'm not sure. But we've got a lot of stuff to get through on that. We got a lot of clips to get through. We got to talk about the Mustache being indicted because this is great stuff. We also have DOJ brought its first terrorism charges against an Antifa person today. That was new news that I found out earlier as well. We've got a whole lot more to get to, but guys, this is Walter Curtin Trash Discourse. This is the Political Theater Weeknights at 9. Thank you guys for joining us. If you guys are on X, Substack, Rumble, wherever you guys may be listening to us, thank you guys for being here. Make sure you guys share this space out. Put a link, put this link everywhere so people know we're live, and we're going to get rolling right away. So what's up, Trash?
Oh, it's actually it's a good day. The Democrats are up to Clown Inc. business again. They just can't get away from themselves, and so it's a funny day. It's a great day. The Mustache has in fact been indicted. We speculate on this program here that there were in fact documents in USB thumb drives hidden behind the Mustache. And we wonder if they actually looked behind there, because if you actually look at the indictment, it's actually very serious. It's 18 charges in Espionage Act. It's not a flimsy case. Like we know they're going to be adding a bunch of things to Comey and superseding indictments and things like that. But this is the actual first rollout of the Espionage Act, and it's not going to be the last, I suspect. But this is the easiest clear-cut cases we've seen. So we'll get into all that. We'll break that down and why I believe that to be a slam dunk case, that a grand jury also seems to think that there's a case there. So we will go at it. Stephen A. Smith is back bashing Democrats again. So a lot of things to go over. Also, people that have the Sora keys to the new Sora 2 engine for image and video generation, it's really quite impressive. The sidewalk boomers are back, Walt. So we'll have that to play as well.
The sidewalk boomers are back. That's nice. The first thing, obviously, though, the most important thing has got to be that the Mustache has been indicted. So we got to talk about the Mustache being indicted. So this is obviously the most important thing. So just for everybody, I'm sure all the people that are daily listeners of the show know exactly what we're waiting. We've been waiting all week to do this because we said last week that the indictments are probably coming. We were right again. So I guess does it count if we called it like a week ago? Like I think the binder options have to be when we talked about it like 6 months ago. But I mean, whatever. I guess we can it can have its own, individual input here. But we have to make sure that everyone is aware that the Mustache was indicted. So this is very important that the Mustache has actually been indicted. So make sure everyone is aware of this. Let's just go ahead and play this real quick.
We seem to have breaking news. Apparently, the FBI has found the USB thumb drive they were looking for. Mr. Bolton was reportedly hiding it under his mustache. This is apparently the same technique he used to smuggle information in and out of the State Department. Apparently, it was President Trump who alerted the FBI to make sure they checked under his mustache. He said, and I quote, "Make sure you look under that son of a bitch's mustache. I never trusted that mustache." We seem to have...
So there you go. So the Mustache has been indicted. We are very excited that the Mustache is indicted, but it does look like some very serious charges on this. I mean, it's Espionage Act. And it's obviously not what people thought it was going to be. I mean, I haven't even looked at the full indictment. Did you look at the full indictment yet, Trash?
I've looked at a lot of it, and it's actually very, very serious, and it's cut and dry. So essentially, what happened is, not only was he feeding, classified information and secure documents to somebody to basically help generate the book, which we know about that, right? We know about that. That's already been proven. And then also, it appears that a lot of this information was being shared on personal email addresses, not on secure servers. So like AOL and others like that, between family members, things like that. Everyone had access to it, including apparently the Iranians who had actually hacked these systems and got a hold of these a lot of classified information. We also know about that really weird video of John Bolton being captured while walking around in Qatar a couple years ago. And we talked about this on this show months ago when I was bringing up the fact of how he gets speaking fees and book deals and feeding and leaking this sensitive information, and that's all included in this indictment. So it's actually very serious, and it seems to be cut and dry.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like this is. I think that this is going to be. And by the way, I think this case actually opened up underneath the Biden administration, if I'm not mistaken, right? This is actually not something that was opened.
With the book. Yeah.
So this has been an ongoing thing. So I think Bolton is probably about to get put through the ringer here, which, sucks to be him. He's not going to escape and hide in the walrus field this time. So looks like we've got him this time, and it should be pretty interesting. I don't really particularly care when any of these people are, has everyone come out and defended him yet? Has that happened yet? I haven't even seen it yet. It's probably
really
too fresh.
I'm not seeing it. Matter of fact, I was paying attention to MSNBC stuff because they would have been my go-to for like defending Bolton. Not seeing it. Matter of fact, from what I'm seeing on MSNBC, and I have a couple clips, I just sent you one. It looks like they're just giving analysis on this.
Oh,
Now,
really? That's interesting.
yeah. So the clip that I sent you is probably the most they're leaning into it a little bit. They're trying to change the narrative around a little bit, but it's not really working. And so I sent you this clip. Maybe we can play it. It's only about 44 seconds long. But
yeah, I'll put this one up here 1 second here. I'm just trying to fix there we go. So let me throw this one on here. Share this instead. There we go. Okay. So this is MSNBC. I'm actually curious to see how they covered this. So where's my audio? There we go.
To systematically go after his political opponents. Again, show me the man, I will show you the crime. And I think that, again, we need to balance those thoughts at the same time. And I really appreciate the caution with which people are addressing this right now and the distinctions between this prosecution and, say, the prosecution of James Comey. But let's never forget that this prosecution is taking place because Donald Trump wills it and will continue, as Maya just said, will continue to insist upon these kinds of vindictive prosecution. They do it.
So, I mean, they kind of leaned into it there. I mean, it's, they're saying that the only reason this happened is because Trump is going after vindictive prosecutions. Like, I mean, all the people, go ahead.
And you saw what he did there, though, right? Like, so that was my point. Like, that was probably the most gracious MSNBC is going to be about this, where they said you do kind of have to separate between the two. What he did was essentially acknowledge that this was actually a pretty tight case by bringing up James Comey. Let's not confuse the two. And then he goes into this narrative about how it's, selective prosecution and blah, 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 blah. What he was actually saying there, it was like it was a word trick. It was a phrase trick. What he did was he alluded to what he believed and is trying to present the narrative as the Jim Comey indictment is being, show me the man, I'll show you the crime, the Stalin-esque type thing, right? Versus separating it from the Bolton thing, because they know they're dead to rights. This is not something new. It's just more, and it's actually been now public. What I wanted to use that for is I sent you another clip. Use that clip as kind of like the measuring stick of what they're going to try to do, and I want to hear what you got to say about the clip. But I sent you another one from CNN that is a lot different, actually.
Okay, let's check and see what this one's about then. All right, who is this one? Is this I love that I don't even pretend to know the people in CNN anymore. They keep replacing them.
Yeah, that's Cassie Hunt. That looks like Cassie Hunt.
Okay, that's Kathy Hunt then.
Former national security advisor to Donald Trump, a longtime federal government official, has been indicted by a grand jury. We are learning that through two different sources from our producer, Hannah Rabinowitz, at the Justice Department. And we have confirmed that the grand jury was in today with the lead prosecutor on that case, the same prosecutor who had been on some of the documents of the search of Bolton's house just 2 months ago, or not even 2 months ago, a prosecutor who also has some experience in investigating these sorts of things. He was a prosecutor that was also working on the Biden classified documents handling investigation that led to no charges. But in this situation, the bulk of this case, it's been going on for several years, and our understanding is that it's about John Bolton's use of an email account with AOL, an email account where he was writing diary-like notes and summaries of his time as national security advisor to himself, at times even sending them to his wife and daughter. And that is the sort of thing that the Justice Department does say frequently, not just in the climate of a Trump administration, that that's something that you should not do. We have seen many charges like this before of other high-ranking officials, and that also with John Bolton in those search warrants, and what we're very likely to see in court going forward is that the Justice Department saying he should have known better.
That is very interesting analysis from CNN. They're not leaning into it at all. That was very fair, to be honest with you. I'm kind of surprised. Yeah. I'm actually really surprised. That was actually pretty good. Because this is the point, right? I mean, it's, by the way, I've always thought it was weird, like in this scenario, like why exactly was he sending himself diary-like entries to like what was the purpose of that? Like, do you not understand like what a journal is? Like, you're a national security person. Maybe you should just, use a notebook. I mean, I don't know. Like, why send it via AOL? I mean, maybe it's just because these people are boomers and they just don't understand. Like, I've always kind of thought about that. I mean, I'll never forget you remember the hearing that they had when it was a bunch of these old senators talking to Zuckerberg, and they were trying to explain, like, he was trying to explain to them, like, network security, and it was like he was talking to dinosaurs. They had no idea what he was saying. He's like, well, I wouldn't want that to happen. It's like, if that happened, there would be a major breach of our security. That'd be horrible. And he's like, well, but you don't understand. What if it does happen? He's like, well, that would be bad. I don't want that. Like, it was a very, very bad interview. That was the one that Zuckerberg still looked like a lizard guy, though. I mean, he's less lizard now. Now he's kind of turned into some sort of like strange like guru or something like that. But outside of that, it's just amazing listening to these people that don't have any idea. And I wonder if that's what Bolton is too. It's possible. But at the same time, why would you do that? Like, I don't understand. And why would you send your wife and daughter classified information? Can't that get them wrapped up in trouble? Like, it's not going to just be him in that scenario if that's the case. Because they can't just have that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Matter of fact, in the height of like the investigative stuff leading up to the 2024 election, I had several people whom were whistleblowers who came to me and I said, okay, before you send me anything, any document at all, if there's any classified markings on it, if there's 4 eyes only type markings on it, I do not want it. You can explain it to me. That's fine. But do not send it to me. I do not want it. And who am I? I'm an internet raccoon. I know better. And I felt like there was a couple times where it got closer. It felt like almost like a trap, not really somebody leaking something to me. But at the same time, you are. I mean, yes, I understand your point on this, but I mean, you're the former national security advisor. You give talks and write books and go all over the world talking about national security issues. I really feel like this was kind of like a ground ball of a no-no, and I think it's hubris. I think that the people in power for so long, you could just do things completely protected and get away with all of it, as we've seen year after year after year. Meanwhile, using the strength and the power and the resources of the federal government and various different intelligence agencies and federal law enforcement to go after your political enemies. And so it's probably a pretty comfortable place to be in, pre-Trump. I got to be honest with you. And so, especially now, specifically with this administration, I mean, we're in a different world altogether. So, I think it's part of it. I think it's hubris. I think that he just felt protected, and also he's pretty much an idiot. We've heard him talk. I mean, even Trump. I've got the clip. Did you hear the clip of Trump talk about how much of a dope he is?
No, I didn't actually hear that. You got to send that to me because I definitely want to hear that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, the other side of this is, I think a lot of these people, like you said, I think there's a bit of like comfort to it, right? They never thought ever that they would ever be looked into. I mean, they never had to worry about this stuff before. They just assumed that no one would ever look at this stuff, that no one would ever prosecute them. I mean, these people have lived in that world for so long that I guess it's possible that they just don't even think about it, which, I mean, whatever, I guess. I mean, these people are ridiculous in my eyes. I just wanted to get back to the point where these people actually are worried that if they break the law, they might go to jail for it, because then things would work a lot better, like a lot better. People may, I do think that the idea of classified documents, there is a bit overbroad brush that's painted with that. Like, I think I learned that really decisively from the JFK files. Like, did you guys read those things? Like, did you go through it? They had like public article newspaper clippings that were in there that were considered classified. And apparently, by the way, the JFK files themselves had like their own building. They had their own room in a building that was like locked and made it all super secure and everything. And then we get the files out of this thing and they're like, newspaper clippings and other random things. It's like, okay, look, if that's what you held on to for so long, then I think that's kind of a problem in that you guys just classify whatever you want. But still, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you're going to use classifications on stuff, then you need to be able to understand that you can't just share that stuff out freely. And if you break that law, then you need to be prosecuted for it. So, if we want to change the laws, that's fine. But until then, no, you should go to jail. And, I just want your mustache to be shaved forcefully. That would be amazing. How funny would that be if they make him shave his mustache to go to prison?
Oh, it'd be fantastic. We would see the weasel that he is. I want to comment on this because this is something I've long talked about. And I am not. regardless of what people will accuse me of that disagree with me politically, I am not like a government bootlicker. I never will be. I will always challenge things, but I also did vote for the administration that's in there and doing the exact things that they're doing, so they're good with me. But I've also long contended that we do have an overclassification problem, and is that if we can make everything national security, then there's no transparency to the public, and that's a bad thing. With that being said, there are things that actually deserve that classification that I have actually, to be honest with you, I have no right to. Now, in the future, after operations are done or history is made, yeah, I would like to see those documents, and I don't see any reason that they should be, classified. I think the military breaches are a serious problem because that's a national security problem. I think that some products that come out in the intelligence community are not for my eyes, as I don't have clearance and I'm not part of the intelligence apparatus, and I'm okay with that. But it is the overclassification that is a problem. But that's not what sells books, right? So the same point you made, and I agree with you, like the JFK files and like the news articles and the newspaper clippings and all that crap, because I went through all that too. I was just like, dude, I could have pulled this up in archives, right? Um, I think that's nonsense. However, if it's methods and ways that they go about collecting and creating these products, and there actually is, should it get out into the public, that we either change the dynamic of being able to stop something or arrest someone or stop a world event. I don't know that that's eyes for everybody to see, and so there is a fine line there. It's just a matter of there shouldn't be like this just overwhelming broad brush of over classifications because X, Y, and Z because of something because somebody might ask a question, and that goes with the FOIA process as well. So I think we are moving in the right direction, and I hope that people like Radcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard and Christy Nome and people within our intelligence apparatus that actually can make changes continue this more radical transparency than we've had before in shorter amounts of time, not putting out Pfizer studies that we can't look at for 75 years, not uncovering all the JFK stuff or MLK stuff or whatever. That's not okay. So there definitely needs to be a process there, and I think transparency on things that don't actually pose a threat to national security need to be a focus if we, the governed of this constitutional republic, deem it credible moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there needs to be a change made to it. I think that's the better way to look at it. But regardless, I mean, who cares for today? The Mustache has been indicted, and I'm happy about it. I hope he goes to prison, and I hope that we get live video of them shaving the mustache. That would just make my day. That would make my absolute day. I would love every minute of that. That would just be so funny.
Well, here's my thing. If you can try to embarrass people like Steve Baker as an example at the Blaze when they made him surrender and they put him in chains and they frog marched him, if you can do this to all these kind of people, this needs to be done back. And if you want to talk about retribution, my question's always been from day one when they started bringing this up. Oh, it's revenge, it's retribution. I'm like, well, retribution for what? And you don't want to answer that question because that's the real answer to the autocracy or the weaponization of government versus the clown show that the Democrats are trying to parade out there today. But I think John Bolton being, indicted on the Espionage Act on 18 counts, I think that deserves a frog march, in my opinion. If you could do it to Steve Baker for BS, being an independent journalist covering January 6th, who literally did nothing, just videotape and cover January 6th, then I think a guy like this can absolutely be frog marched. I understand why they didn't do it with Comey. People don't think that's very popular. I understand why they did it. But in this case, I think that you start to set the example.
Yeah, we got a comment here from Alan on the stream here, and he says, he's happy about the indictment, but he feels upset about when it turns out to be a Biden-Obama judge. Are we concerned about these liberal judges and these impending, in these cases? That is the problem, really. We do worry about that stuff. I do worry that one of the things about it being anywhere near D.C. is what I always get concerned about is in D.C., can you actually get a charge to stick because of the judges in that area? I'm not sure. In this specific case,
yeah, I believe this is in Maryland. It's in Maryland, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but wherever it's at, I mean, the worry is always whether or not it's going to be some activist judge. But In this specific case, I think it's going to be very hard for them to deny that. I mean, even if an activist judge can't really deny the fact that there is, obvious breaking of the law here, obvious the fact that he sent classified information, and was sharing classified information, and that other, foreign nations had access to it. My guess is, and like I've said for a lot of these things, the indictments, when they bring them forward, you have to remember that the reality is that they're probably not going to bring these things until they are 100% bulletproof. You have to remember the conviction rate for federal law enforcement in the DOJ is, what is it, like? Didn't we look at it before? It's like 98% or some ridiculous number. I mean, it's like it never.
Yeah, it's
they don't bring it unless they get it. Essentially,
That's right.
so but just to worry about the judges, yeah. But Bolton, of all people, I don't know. I guess I don't really see Bolton as one of these people that's like a mainstream apparatchik within the Democrat Party or anything. I mean, sure, he's he had his book that he wrote about Trump and whatnot, but do you really think all these people are going to come out here and defend him? I don't think they like Bolton that much. Like, is he that popular? This isn't like a Comey or like an Obama or somebody. Like, this is John Bolton, the warmonger in chief, the mustache extraordinaire. I don't think that it's going to work out for him. I just don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. And I want to remind people on the judge thing. Look, if you can present an airtight case, which, by the way, we've been saying on this program before any indictments came down, we said it's going to take some time because it need to be airtight. Because despite judges, despite juries, the only thing that's going to get John Bolton out of this, in my opinion, and I saw somebody else say this. I don't know if it was Sean Davis. I mean, I was thinking the same thing, but I saw somebody else say this, and it was saying essentially what I thought myself was, and what we've been saying on this program the entire time is, not only is it going to be airtight, but it's really going to take almost like a leftist jurist nullification. Like, you're going to have to nullify the jury from jump. And I don't think that's going to happen. And when the facts bear out, which we can all see in the indictment itself, and we all knew about a lot of this stuff. That's why I gave CNN credit with Cassie Hunt on that clip, because they just laid it out, and they're absolutely correct. And so, no, John Bolton, no one's a fan of John Bolton. He's not some kind of like Democrat icon. By stepping in and helping John Bolton is not going to win them any additional points. There's no independents or Republicans going to be like, oh, wow, thank God you saved John Bolton from this evil, mean, Stalin-esque star chamber type investigations and indictments. No, nobody cares. And he's going to be left out into the wind, and his hubris is what's going to bury him. So, I again, short of jury nullification. Now, where the judges will come into play, I'm going to answer this question from my opinion. Where the judges are going to come into play in all of these cases are going to be two things. Number one, it's going to be motions. And then number two, it's going to be sentencing if they're convicted. The sentencing and the motions are the only place that these judges can play a role. And I'm sorry, I don't see a hyper political judge, activist judge, sticking their neck out for John Bolton. I just don't see it.
Yeah, that's what my point is. I don't see John Bolton getting the Comey treatment or any of these any other mainstream leftist activist type people, the people that everyone knows the names of. Like John Bolton, I still don't see him as he's not going to be one of those people. I think they'll just throw him under the bus and not care. So that's what I don't think it's going to work out for him. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong here, but I doubt it. I really do. But did you see me that clip of Trump saying he's adult? Because I do want to see that.
Yeah, it's an old clip, but ALX shared it. I sent it to the Walter Kirk.
Oh, yeah. I've got
I remember
it here.
this clip, but it doesn't matter. I want to play it in this context because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, let me play this here.
But I said, don't go in. They went in. It was such a bad decision. So Bolton, see again, you get back. Bolton, a real dope. But I thought he'd be great because he was so stupid. He was like a boiler. Every time, if somebody shot down a little tiny crappy drone that cost about $15, he'd want to go to war with Russia. I said, no, I think he was great for me, though, for a period of time because he was a nut job, and everybody, I could see his face get red with that stupid white mustache, and he'd be ready to explode. And this was good for me. I went to Kim Jong-un in North Korea. I took this moron with me, and he never said anything. But when Kim Jong-un saw him, he said, oh, shit, I think the guy wants to go to war. So he was great for me to negotiate with. The same thing with Russia. You know, when Putin saw him, I'd be very nice. I'd say, hi, Vladimir, how you doing? And then Bolton's, 2 rows back, and he'd see that moron, and he'd say, holy shit, this guy wants to go to war with me. And I got a lot of what I wanted. You
gotta love it. You gotta love it. That is a classic from Trump there. I've forgotten about that clip. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the point with Bolton. I don't think that he's going to have the main liberal activist support behind him. That my guess is he just gets thrown to the wolves by these people because, it sucks to be you, Bolton. But anyway, so we'll see how this continues forward. Whether or not judges actually, they decide to be, claim this is some sort of political prosecution. I doubt it highly. Letitia James was out there. Did you see that earlier? That she's out there saying, "Well, this is obviously an unjust prosecution." She's obviously playing into this whole political aspect on this as much as she can. But I don't even know what Letitia James what her argument is that she wasn't pursuing a political prosecution. She literally ran her campaign on doing a political prosecution. So I don't know what her argument doesn't make any sense at all. But whatever, she can say whatever she wants, but it doesn't matter to me.
And it got even worse. I don't know if you saw this today, but New York Post was reporting today, and we saw some of the stuff come out last week when the grand jury was impaneled. But I don't know if you saw this, but apparently, there was a family member fleeing charges from another state that was actually living in that house, who happens to also be an OnlyFans model. She's really cooked. Like she's actually cooked. Because it actually shows specifically that it was not her primary residence at all. And not only that, but the people living in the house, one was an OnlyFans model, but they were also fleeing various charges, I think from North Carolina, I want to say. I think it was North Carolina. I'm trying to find this piece. It was from New York Post today. And she's cooked, cooked. So again, I saw the clip. Did you get the clip of her coming out today and saying that it's more of the same, that she's just being persecuted and politically and all the things?
Yeah, I think I have it here. Let me see if I can find it.
I've got it.
If you send me the bookmark on that one, I've been trying to organize my bookmarks again, and I didn't manage to get that one because now I've got 45 pages of bookmarks. So, oh well.
Yeah, I got to go in and cull my bookmarks, man. I got a lot in there. But yeah, so there it is. She came out, it was about 6 hours ago. She came out and she's angry about the grand jury indictment for, bank fraud, says President Trump is getting retribution, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, let's go ahead and play this real quick.
But first of all, the decision was based on the Administrative Procedure Act, an arbitrary and capricious act by this agency, an unlawful act. And so too is the indictment. It's baseless. It's nothing more than retribution. Retribution for basically doing my job. For doing my job following a 2-year investigation in a congressional hearing. It wasn't political. It was based on facts and the application of the evidence. And the judgment was sustained. The amount of the disgorgement was what was dismissed. But the judgment remains. And so at this point in time, we will vigorously defend those charges, those baseless charges. My arraignment, as you know, is next Friday. I visit Norfolk quite frequently. My family is in Norfolk. I love my family, and I will defend these charges, and I want everyone to know that it is completely baseless, and I am totally innocent. Thank you.
She sounds so bad, man. She does not sound good.
Wait, what is this? The confidence that Brendan was talking about? Is that what they remember? The confidence Brendan said that she looks so confident out there that it gives me so much hope. I hope that well, Brendan, I'll tell you, the confidence is waning. You can see that when she first came out there, she was screaming, "I went to Howard University. Oh my goodness, I went to Howard University. I'm ready. I was trained by the best." Yeah, well, whatever. Okay, say I don't think so, Tish. The beast of the Northeast is looking worse and worse every single day. So I don't think this is going to work out for her. I think she's going to get she's probably going to get charged. And I can't wait. It's going to be very funny to watch because that's going to be a full meltdown. Now, Zorhan Mamdani, the communist running for mayor in New York City, did say that we have to go through him to get her. Now, besides the fact that that's completely inaccurate, I say deal. So I don't care. Like, if you want to jump on this bandwagon, dude, I'd be my guest. Maybe we can find something to prosecute you on too. But I mean, I don't know. I somehow I don't think that anybody cares what Mamdani has to say about this indictment or this prosecution, because what are you going to do? I mean, even if you win, you're just going to be the mayor of a city. Like, you can't stop a federal indictment. You've got no power over the federal law enforcement apparatus. I mean, it'll be funny to watch, but outside of that, no one cares. Mamdani, which is I'm calling him Mom Kami now. And that's much easier for me. I just think it fits. I think it works. One. Yeah, I think Mom Kami's good. It just rolls off the tongue. I came up with it about sometime last week, and I just think that's just fitting for him. It's easier that way. It's very simple, and you know, my guess is that Mom Kami will be around for a while. So anyhow, we can move on here. I do want to talk about this Antifa story. Did you see this earlier today?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. 2 people charged in an Antifa cell down in Texas. This with the first time for the actual domestic terrorism charges. This will be a precedent-setting case, and I suspect these two are not going to enjoy their time, not only through Texas penal code, but through the court system there. And if they are getting brought for the first time, these domestic terrorism charges, there's precedent. This could be a chilling effect. Boy, I can't wait to talk about the No Kangs protest coming up this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
But in light of that, because I suspect, I hope that they're smart enough to avoid violence, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, this is a serious story, and
yeah. So here's the story, guys. So go ahead and read just a little bit of this article so you understand what's going on here. So the DOJ brings first Antifa-related terrorism charges in the Texas ICE attack. So for those who remember this was the attack on the ICE facility down in Texas in July. So the indictment is issued Wednesday and unsealed Thursday. Charges against Cameron Arnold and Zachary Evans with providing additional support for terrorism, attempted to murder federal assisting officers, and discharging firearms during attempted murders. Man, that's interesting. I didn't even know that was a charge, but okay. So anyway, for the first time, the FBI has arrested anarchist violent extremists and charged these Antifa-aligned individuals with material support to terrorism. FBI Kash Patel said that in a statement earlier. This is a planned, coordinated terrorist attack on the Pearland Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas, where armed extremists tried to murder U.S. officers on July 4th. So that's the indictment. This is out of Kash Patel, so it looks like this is actually going to move forward. I think this is good, and they need to set a serious example. That's what my comment on this would really be. There needs to be a serious example set. And I think if we actually get that done, it'll probably have a chilling effect on at least some of the ridiculous terrorists. I mean, I don't know. There needs to be a lot of them across the country. They need to throw these people in prison for 30 years. That would be the best way to get this stuff to stop happening.
That's right. And it is a catalyst to what Kash Patel was talking about with going after the funding sources and using the IRS to do so, which was kind of a parallel story that came out today. I sent you a clip where Kash Patel, I believe it was last night, when he was on Just the News with John Solomon, talking about this very thing. I sent you this clip if you want to play it for everybody. This looks like it was in the Biden fake White House room where they're doing all the podcasts now at the White House.
Yeah, I do like that they've actually.
It's a great set, by the way.
Yeah, I do find it cool that they've actually made a use of the Biden fake, fake White House press briefing room. For those who are not aware of what that was, they actually made that during Biden's presidency because he was unable to go do things, so they had to have a set for him. Like, that's why every time you saw a video from Biden, it was like 45 cuts. It was like, there's 100 cuts for him to do a 2-minute video. That's because they were in these studios making sure that he couldn't get through an actual sentence, so they had to redo them all the time. So they built a whole studio just to do that. Anyway, so this is Solomon with FBI FBI Director Kash Patel yesterday.
So look, the thing I can tell you is that money doesn't lie, and the thing we're doing at the FBI is following the money. And thanks to President Trump, we now have Antifa designated, rightfully so, as a domestic terror organization. And we have had multiple investigations going on, not just in Portland, where we are mapping out the money, and we are using social media and the influencers that the president had here just this last week, because they're the ones on the ground getting us ground level intelligence, because law enforcement isn't able to enter these spaces, and these people are brave enough to do it. So we already have dozens of arrests of these individuals involved. But what we want to do is, as you pointed out, is someone is paying for this. These are organized acts of violence, fully funded by people who don't even live necessarily in these communities, showing up in dozens with the same placards, the same helmets, the same riot gear. Someone's paying for it, and we're on the verge of finding that out thanks to these new authorities.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you finding a substantial amount of
crossover between Antifa groups and now what we are seeing as almost militant trans groups?
I think there's going to be some crossover for sure. But what that raises in my mind is a problem that I've been trying to tackle for a long time, which is social media is wildly out of control. I mean, our kids are allowed to go on these gaming platforms for fair purposes, gaming, but then unfortunately you have the child predators that go on these gaming platforms. You have Antifa that goes on these gaming platforms, and no one's overseeing them because our kids aren't monitored while they're on these platforms, and they're taking advantage of lawful use of these mechanisms to make basically an anarchist system that wants to take down the United States government. And that's why this threat is so real, and that's why we in this White House and this administration are so fervently tackling it with every resource we have at the FBI. We've created an entire new program and division dedicated to rooting out the money that is funding these operations, whether it's U.S. based or internationally. We're going to get there, and I think you're going to see even more crossover into these communities that you identified.
Yeah, it's amazing. Are our enemies taking advantage of these anarchist groups or using them as proxies to further destabilize our country? Do you see some foreign, the Cubas, Venezuela's, Iran's involved with them?
Well, I think they were before President Trump sealed the border.
Yeah.
You know, they were coming in by the thousands, these criminals, and they were taking advantage of America and our resources that are supposed to be for our citizens who are lawfully here. And so when you stop and seal the border, that's step one, like the president did. But now what you have to do is go clean up 4 years of the Biden administration's mess that has been allowed to embed themselves. They're not just there for a fleeting moment. They're living as your neighbors, and you don't even know it. And that's the thing we try to highlight when we talk about these crimes against children that people are doing. They are done by people, not just violent anarchists, but people who are in positions of power and are supposed to be protecting our youth. So there is a crossover of all of this, and that is why we are out there crushing violent crime and using Operation Summer Heat to do.
So that's a pretty good statement there from Cash. But the other thing that it's very interesting what he was just saying there, talking about how it's obviously well-funded. And this is something we all know. For anybody who's followed this and actually paid attention to the Antifa people, how they managed to show up and they magically have all the riot gear, they have all of the stuff, they've got the signs, they've got the chemical masks, the stuff that were dropped. Remember that during the LA riot, there was somebody just dropped off a whole bunch of chemical masks and riot masks for them in the middle of that, and they went out and found that guy. That's the kind of funding that they need to go look for. But there's another aspect of what he just said there, which is super interesting to me. He's talking about people in positions of power. It reminds me of the Iowa story. Remember, it was, I think, about a month ago, they found out that there was a guy. He was a illegal immigrant that had somehow managed to become the superintendent of a school, right? And he was, by the way, he was also registered to vote, and they continue to find more places. There was a news story about that earlier today, that there was another place he was registered to vote in. So, even though they swear that that's not happening, it's, definitely happening. But anyway, so that's very interesting that he says that they're in positions of power and that they're your neighbors and stuff. That tells you a lot. That tells you that they know that the problem was actually intentional to try and embed these people in specific positions. That's what that tells me. That they know that this is actually probably set up by foreign powers or by other governments trying to cause chaos and cause problems for us, because they're going to put them in positions of power, and you're not going to know who they are, and you're not going to know if they're legal. And that's the problem with the stupid idea of open borders. There's a general problem amongst the left where they don't think. They don't actually think that this stuff matters. They don't think that borders are important. Even if they claim that they're doing it to help people, they don't think that the problem that it creates is real. They don't see that there's actually enemies of the United States that may actually intend to try and cause harm to our country. They don't think about that stuff. The only thing they think about is the political gain that they get. That's the only thing that matters to them. They don't care if there's if China's going to send a whole bunch of people in through the southern border and embed them all over the country. They don't care if the Mexican cartels want to send them up here, and then that way they've got people embedded so they can bribe the politicians on the southern states. They don't care about any of that stuff. All that matters to them is the border was open, and they think they're going to get more votes out of it. That's what matters to them. And I've said it before, that the Democrat Party essentially during the Biden administration became the entire intention of it was a criminal organization designed to get voters from other countries, to import them into the country, and then pay them to vote for Democrats. That's what the Biden administration essentially devolved the Democrat Party into. That's why the border was so open. That's why so many millions of people showed up here. I mean, the numbers on that, by the way, are absurd. I mean, just on catch and release immigration that they had, it was over 10 million. And that's actually CBP numbers. So that's actual numbers, and that's not including the gotaways, which if as far as I'm aware, the way they consider gotaways is it's almost a 1-to-1. So, when Trump came out and said that he thinks that there was 20 something million people that came over the border in the past 4 years, he actually might be right about that. You'd have to look and see how many of the catch and release immigrants that showed up, how many of those people actually were immediately released into the country. But you assume with the Biden administration, almost all of them did. So that means that if you think about that, that means 1-to-1. So it could be almost 20 million people showed up here over the past 4 years. And I think that might be accurate. I mean, we always make sure that we note that when you listen to the people that talk about immigration numbers, they're all lies. There was 50 million minimum illegal immigrants in the country, and there's 55 million legal visas. So you have to think about that number, what that really means. So if there's a criminal element to it and a foreign operative element to it, then that means that there's people that are being sent in here intentionally to get into certain positions, and that's a huge problem. So looks like Kash Patel's all over this, though, so it's good. Hopefully we start to see some real action on that. But if we start to catch more people that are, superintendents of schools that are illegal immigrants that have been here for, 6-7 years, that's, we need more of that.
Right. Well, and the woman in Iowa that was responsible for his hiring as superintendent has just now withdrawn her candidacy for the spot that she was running for. I don't know if you saw that today. It's a small story, but it did come out. She has stepped down from running because she was the one that put him in that position to begin with. But I want to back it up a little bit. A lot bit actually to what Kash was talking about here. So it's hard to convey to the public what is still kind of an esoteric subject, yet it is directly related to many of the mass casualty events that we have, the eco-terrorism stuff that we have. If you guys remember the people that tried to take out a power substation, I want to believe it was in North Carolina. He's describing them as anarchists. And I think that's the only way that you can describe this stuff to the general public. But I would encourage people to go back to my highlights, go search militant accelerationists, go back and look in this stuff. Go follow BX on X, Becca, my friend. She's been all over these groups longer than I have, but her and I were talking about this for like the last 2 or 3 years. What he's saying here is when he's talking about the gaming platforms and he's talking about the different social media connections and different apps and everything else, and how the kids are kind of being radicalized. It is foreign money. Matter of fact, a lot of the indictments and charges and extraditions that has come from this Department of Justice since they took over have been like foreign nationals. There's a guy who he was in Moldova at the time. He's being held in Moldova. But he was like a Ukrainian Azov battalion separatist guy. And he went to live in the country, Georgia, and he was trying to groom what he thought was like a 15-year-old kid. It turned out to be an undercover JTTF FBI Fusion Center agent. But he was trying to groom him into basically poisoning with ricin a bunch of candy, dressing up as Santa Claus, and handing it out to Jewish and black kids in New York. And this guy, you can go look it up. I believe that was Acid. I think that was Acid who was doing that. But he was also part of this MKV cult, this murder cult, whatever. But it's foreign influence, and a lot of the funding that is coming through these militant accelerationists are coming most likely probably from China, Iran, and Eastern European sources. And what they're doing is they're grooming these kids, what they think are kids, or a lot of these kids are kids, using extortion, a smorgasbord of different ideas to kind of radicalize these kids and sending them gore and having them cut themselves and send the picture up, or they're hacking their devices and they're saying, I'll release this to your parents if you don't do what I say. These extortion networks, the 764 Order of Nine Angles groups. And that's actually what Kash Patel is talking about here. And it's not unrelated to the funding for actual anarchists and misanthropes and a bunch of like couch surfing idiots who believe in Marxism and they just want to see the world burn. Militant accelerationism, number one, is we want to see the West fall so we can install some kind of different fascism that we want to put in, some kind of authoritarian type rule. Typically it's very racist. It's against the Jews and blacks and browns and all the things. Yet this is what he's talking about. And there's been several arrests out of the DOJ. Finally, now that we sent FBI back to the field offices to do the work, they're actually taking down these people and taking down these networks. It's the first time I ever saw it. And Dan Bongino was on it while he was still podcasting. He sent out the memo that came out of the Virginia field office talking about this stuff. It was before he took over as deputy director of the FBI, before Cash Patel was even confirmed. And what they're talking about here is that there's a parallel between these militant accelerationist groups that want to see the West fall, foreign funding vehicles that are paying for this stuff and pushing this stuff, and also connected with the ground troops that are these domestic terrorists here in this country. We've been talking about it for a long time, starting to see movement on it. So again, this is why I personally believe that this is the crux of what we're actually dealing with. Once you take away the foot soldiers and once you take away the accelerationists, and the kids come back and they come back to sanity and they don't end up on a rooftop taking Charlie Kirk out because of their trans furry boyfriend, whatever it may be, or they're not trying to take out Donald Trump from a roof in Butler, Pennsylvania, or they're not trying to, pass rice and poisoned candy to children, or they're not trying to create a mass casualty event like the Tops grocery store, if you guys remember that, where he live streamed it on Facebook and on Telegram of him taking out all the brown people that he saw at this grocery store. That was the Tops grocery store, or the Highland Park massacre and Robert Cremo, or all of the Pulse nightclub guy, or many of these, the Parkland shooter. Many of these different things were all related to these accelerationist type groups that were connecting on Roblox, on Discord. They were connecting on Telegram, which we affectionately call Terrorgram at this point. And all these groups were operating, and we knew they were foreign funded. So Antifa is really like the more tame tip of the iceberg of this. What Cash Patel is saying here in this clip is directly related to what I just talked about. And anybody that's followed me or Walton and definitely Becca, BX on X, you guys know this stuff. And you know that's what Cash Patel is talking about right here. This is actually where a biggest piece of our problems are.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, all of these networks need to be dismantled. Not only just because of the radicalism that they intentionally breed and try and push out, but the reality is that we just don't know who's causing it, who's forcing it, who's pushing it, and that's what needs to be discovered. We need to figure out exactly where the funding comes from. So when they're talking about the funding networks that they're going after, that's going to be very important. That's going to be very, very important. So, there's a lot more to go on, and I'm sure we're going to see as they start to unfold this stuff and to start to really go deep into this stuff, I'm sure we're going to find a lot more into it. I'm looking forward to seeing the actual prosecutions on this stuff. So I'm happy to see that this was the first of these, this actual investigation opening and the actual prosecution of this down in Texas. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. So we'll have to see what the end result of that is. Anyway, so we'll move on here for we've got another few minutes here before we got to go to a break real quick. But then, guys, so there's the other aspect. I wanted to talk about the shutdown just briefly here because the Democrats did again vote for the 10th time to keep the government shut down. And for those who were on the show last night, we talked about it a little bit. The town hall event where it was AOC and Bernie Sanders just making clowns of themselves. Just absolute clowns of themselves. They couldn't answer any questions, honestly. I think Bernie Sanders said that Jeff Bezos owns X, which was hysterical. Then he tried to argue that, all of the social media algorithms are controlled by the right wing, which is hysterical as well, because what world does he live in? I don't know. But just listening to that was great because then, of course, today, again, the Democrats come out and they say, nope, we're going to keep the government shut down. We want to keep it shut down forever. We're never going to open it back up unless you meet all of our demands. And apparently AOC is in charge of the party now. So they did, they voted again today. And John Thune said that he was going to give them some sort of, appropriations or something like that to see if he could give them votes on appropriation bills and stuff like that to see if they'd take the leverage. But they're not even moving on that. So the only thing that they're trying to do is they're just trying to stand up to Trump. Oh, my goodness. We got to stand up to Trump forever. For all days, we must stand up to Trump for anything, for every aspect. And the reality is that the Democrat Party has nothing, and they have no leverage in this situation. So when they continue to argue about this stuff, it's amazing to me that they think they have leverage here. But, I mean, every day that the government is shut down, Roosevelt moves forward with the reductions in force stuff. And I think that if you get rid of, I don't know, tell me if you think this is probably accurate. If they get rid of another 10% of the people in the bureaucracies, I think they may have eliminated almost the entire bureaucratic structure that stands against Trump. So I don't know what their plan is here, but I don't think it's going to work out for them. If we continue to move bureaucrats out, I think that's probably only going to benefit us. So I don't know. I heard somebody trying to argue to me that if they signed this ER and they passed it, that would eliminate the reductions in force, but I have not looked into that further. I don't think that's accurate.
Well, it's not accurate, but what they're saying is essentially this, is that because of the shutdown and because employees are being furloughed, that it does enable, Russ Vogt to go in with reduction in force exercises to reduce the force of the government. And there's nothing to be said, because when you're shut down and there's no continuing resolution, the power can transfer to the executive, which is giving them the ability to do this while it's shut down. So essentially what it does is, constitutionally, it's empowering the executive to do exactly what they're doing. And again, I don't know if this is like some kind of 5D chess move. I don't think so. I think it's nothing more than actually being able to follow through on, promises made, promises kept. But essentially it does, because if there's no session in Congress and there's no one there that is actually voting for a continuation of the funding of the federal government, then automatically it shifts from the legislative back to the executive. So that's essentially what's happening here. That's why they're able to do this. Now, granted, you're going to have, activist judges trying to put a stop to it, but again, that already made it to the Supreme Court. It's not going to pass the muster. And the more that the Democrats play these games, which is why I also added to the title of the space, Clown Inc., parentheses, Democrat, is because they are losing, and losing badly at their stupidly played PR game, because Chuck Schumer's trying to prevent a primary from AOC or anybody in his district. So they're only playing politics, but it's only hurting them. But it does transfer the power back to the executive.
Yeah, I mean, they are playing politics, and Schumer's trying to. I wish we had played that clip the other day. Did you see the ridiculous clip that they played of Schumer? And he was like, he's like walking, and there's like dramatic music, and it's like this multi-cut video of him doing this, and he's like, the government's shut down. You may have heard, and it's the most. It's super cringe. It's super cringe. I wonder if I actually saved that one. Hold on a minute here. I think I remember who I sent it to. I was like, there's. I sent it to Rican Memes because I was like, dude. This video needs a sombrero badly. It needs a sombrero extremely badly. You need to get this sombrero added to this immediately. Let me see if I can find that. I don't know if I saved. Actually, you know what? I took a recording of it and I sent a segment of it to him. But anyway, it's not that important. It's just Schumer wandering around doing a ridiculous video, and they're all like. They're all the Tim McBride videos. They're all very similar to that. They're all equally cringe, and the Democrats have zero messaging. Yes, Republicans. By the way, I love that he's been mansplaining to everybody here recently about government shutdowns, like as if he's like he's a very well versed individual. He knows everything about how the government works as a junior congressman in the House. I mean, my goodness, this guy's insufferable. But anyway. So that's the stuff on the government shutdown. And generally speaking, though, I think it kind of moves into what our next theme is going to be, and we'll be right back after just a couple-minute break here, guys. But I think the general theme is that the Democrats are just fully crashing out. Like, they are crashing out so badly. And Jay Jones tonight on the debate stage in Virginia, I think, is the perfect example of that. But, guys, this is the Political Theater, weeknights at 9. We will be right back in just about a couple minutes here. We got a 2-minute break for commercial real quick, guys, and we'll be right back. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Make sure you guys share this link out, and we'll be right back. Thanks.
Neon rivers flow through the veins of the night. Concrete jungles hum in electric delight. The moon hangs low like a silver kite. Stars blinking back from their urban height. Whispers of stories from windows aglow. Laughter and heartbreak and currents that flow. Street lights like candles that flicker and show a city that never sleeps but dreams below. Oh, moonlight on the steel and stone. A quiet glow where we're never alone. City beats like a heart of its own. Moonlight and metropolis call us home. Reflections ripple on glassy facades. A million lives spinning tales like gods. Dreams rise high through the smoky clouds. Every voice here feels like it's allowed. In alleys and towers where shadows collide, secrets and stories and whispers confide. The city's alive with the rhythm inside. A pulse we all follow, a place we abide. Oh, moonlight on the steel and stone. A quiet glow where we're never alone. City beats like a heart of its own. Moonlight and metropolis call us home. Metropolis call us home. I found your shadow in the midnight glow, a whisper dancing where the wild winds blow. Your name's a tattoo that my heart can't erase. It's etched in the thunder in the open space.
All right, everybody. We are back. Thank you guys for joining us, guys. This is the Political Theater, weeknights at 9. This is the second hour of the show, so we've got a bunch to talk about. Obviously, what we were talking about before, the Democrats are just generally crashing out, and there is no better example of that than what happened tonight in Virginia. So for those who missed it, there was a debate earlier between Jason Mayoris and Jay Jones. And Jay Jones, who those don't know who Jay Jones is, Jay Jones is the Attorney General candidate for the Democrats, and he has just been a absolute travesty for them. Text messages emerged earlier this month. I think it was, I don't know how many days it's been since this happened. I think it was the first couple days of October when it came out. So text messages came out showing that he had essentially in a private message with another colleague in the state house had said that he believed that a guy named Gilbert, which was the Speaker of the House at the time, the House of Delegates, that he should be shot, that his kids should die in their mother's arms, and that he's fine with that. And his exact words were, "People don't move on policy until they feel pain personally." So that's this guy. So Jay Jones tonight, obviously, I was actually kind of amazed that he even showed up for this thing. I didn't think he would, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know how how he thought this was a good idea, but so he shows up at this debate. And they, of course, I've got to give credit to the moderators in both of the Virginia debates so far. They have actually asked the question. They have actually directly asked about the scandals that the Democrats are involved in, and they've brought it up, and they've forced them to talk about it. So as a result of that, so this is Jay Jones, and I'll put this up on the screen here. So this is the clip of Jay Jones talking about this scandal, and he is directly asked, how exactly can Virginians have any trust in you as a moral character to lead the top law enforcement official in the law enforcement agency in the United States? How exactly is that possible? How can you do that after this stuff? And it's not just the text messages, by the way. He was also caught going 116 miles an hour driving the freeway in his car. And then when he was when they went through the court process for that, he was given community service, and he served that community service in his own pack. So he didn't do like some volunteer organization or something like. No, he did work within his own pack. I have no idea how that was legal. I would be very surprised if it was legal, to be honest with you. It sounds very questionable to me. But anyway, so this is Jay Jones's response to that. And when we talk about the Democrats crashing out, this is it. Like, this is the epitome of it. So here we go. So we'll check this out real quick.
Why should voters trust your judgment moving forward?
Well, look, Brett, I want to say one thing. Jason Miyares can't prosecute a case against Donald Trump, that's for sure. And I will also say this. I was held accountable by my party, and I deeply, deeply respect that. But what about when Donald Trump used incendiary language to incite a riot to try to overturn an election here in this country? What about when Winsome Sears used violent language about people who disagree with you and her and your extreme position on abortion? What about when John Reed shared Nazi porn? You haven't said a word. I've taken accountability for my mistakes. It's time you take accountability too.
And let me ask you this one more time, Delegate Jones, just so we're clear and the voters understand, why do you think they should trust your judgment based upon these two events that we've discussed?
I've taken accountability for my mistakes, and I know that people in Virginia right now demand and deserve leaders who accept when they make mistakes and can acknowledge that and have been held accountable. This job right now demands someone who will hold Donald Trump accountable. For the last 9 months, Jason's had 50 chances to sue the administration to protect us, to protect our workers, to protect our health care, to protect our K-12 funding for law enforcement. And his office hasn't done a thing because he's too weak and too scared to stand up to the president.
All right.
So that is Jay Jones's response to why should voters trust you? Why exactly should Virginia voters trust you with the chief law enforcement position in the state of Virginia? And his response is, well, you see, I was held accountable for my words and actions. I was held accountable. Didn't you see how accountable they held me? I was so held accountable. Didn't you? Do you not understand how accountable I was held? By the way, we need to prosecute Trump. We must prosecute Trump. Like, that's the only thing we need to do is, and by the way, so I wrote this down because I watched the whole debate earlier. If those who were on the stream earlier when I was covering the whole debate, he said Trump 47 times. 47. And this is a 1-hour debate between two people. So that means he was saying Trump more than once a minute at some points. I mean, it really was amazing. But this is the full crash out that I'm talking about. This is what I'm saying. This is oh my God, I was held accountable. What do you mean? You guys should be, look, I already said that I'm sorry. That's enough, right? I was held accountable by, and here's my question though, really. The serious question on this is, how? How were you held accountable by your own party? You didn't lose a single endorsement. Nothing happened to you. Your party is backing you and rallying behind you. Like, nothing has changed. How did they hold you accountable? They made you say sorry? Is that accountability for the Democrats? Is like what do you think, Trash? Do you consider that just saying that? Well, I said I'm sorry, so like that's accountability to you? Like, what do you think? I don't know. I don't see it.
No, no, I don't see it at all. And I don't know what a state attorney general thinks that they're going to accomplish by going after Trump. Oh yeah, Letitia James. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good record.
So like none of that works. But Walt, can you play? I want to say I would say 30 to 45 seconds of the beginning, where he actually acknowledges that the people on his side have an extreme position on abortion. Did you not catch that?
Oh yeah.
I think that needs to be clipped into oblivion. He said, "Well, you have this extreme position on abortion that we all support, so." Play that again. I want to make sure I heard it correctly.
Yeah, I can play the first 30 seconds of this is pretty good. So let me just go ahead and play some more of this.
Trust your judgment moving forward.
Well, look, Brett, I want to say one thing. Jason Miyares can't prosecute a case against Donald Trump, that's for sure. And I will also say this. I was held accountable by my party, and I deeply, deeply respect that. But what about when Donald Trump used incendiary language to incite a riot to try to overturn an election here in this country? What about when Winsome Sears used violent language about people who disagree with you and her and your extreme position on abortion? What about when John Reed shared Nazi porn?
Play that again.
Yes,
Play it
extreme
again.
view on abortion.
What about when John Reed shared about people who disagree with you and her and your extreme position on abortion? What about when John...
So it's just she's sitting there saying Winsome Sears has an extreme view on abortion, and that she was using violent language to describe people that used it. Like, What are you talking about? One,
Right.
so the violent language would be you think that people shouldn't get abortions up at 5 seconds before the child is born. Is that what the extreme position is? I don't think that's extreme position. I think that's the position of 75% of the country or more.
You're right. I think it goes missed in this. I heard it and I was like, wait a minute, what did I just hear? Wait, wait, that's where you're going with this? Like, sure, he's picking on Donald Trump and he's trying to bring up January 6th as if it's irrelevant. I mean, as if it's relevant to Virginians outside of, Nova, who are federal workers who are all in on their Marxist trainings, which I put out today again. But like the extreme position and the violent rhetoric is saying, yeah, maybe we don't kill babies up until birth. Like maybe we can have a discussion about, 6 weeks or 15 weeks or whatever. But like the extreme position of Winsome Sears is, yeah, maybe we shouldn't kill kids up to 9 months of birth. That's the violent rhetoric that you're going to go with, and that you've been held accountable. No one's held you accountable.
That's
To your
right.
point, Walt, when you led this off was, no, actually, you got paid to do your community service for crimes that you had committed and had been adjudicated for. And you basically worked for your own PAC and then paid yourself while you were doing it while paying off the deficit to the state that you owed in community service.
Yep.
Who's held you accountable again? Nobody.
Yeah, and Jason just took him to task on this. So this is Jason in the midst of this. So I'll just play this clip here briefly. This is only about a minute of Jason talking to him.
He keeps saying that he is sorry. Jay, if you're really sorry, you wouldn't be running. If you really understood the ramifications of what you said about an innocent mom and her children, you know Todd Gilbert. You've served with him. Jennifer would come to the General Assembly. She would bring her children. We would see them run in the hallways. They were 2 and 5 years old at the time. This wasn't a hypothetical. This wasn't some figure that you know from far away. You actually know Todd. This is a flesh and blood, real husband. Jennifer is a real mom. These are real kids. How in the world could you ever show compassion and comfort a grieving mother that has ever lost a child to violence? Because Virginians, there is no cry like the cry of a mother that has lost her child. A prosecutor knows this because they've stood in that courtroom. Jay Jones has never understood this because he's not a prosecutor. He's a politician trying to save his career.
Just obliterated. Just completely decimated him. I mean, it's the best way to describe it. He's just a politician. He's just being a politician about this. But the amazing thing is that what was his political... And so I was trying to look at this as like a... like analyst version of this. Like what exactly was his purpose of going there? What was Jay Jones's purpose? And here's the only thing I can come away with. Jay Jones now, because he's such a pariah and he is, obviously no moderates are going to vote for him. I don't think any of them are. But what I think his intention is here, and maybe you can give me some analysis of your own on this, Trash. I think that what he's doing is he's intentionally trying to go out there to rile up the super radical part of the base. I think that's what his intention was tonight. That's why he said Trump 45 times. That's why he would not stop talking about Trump. And the only thing he said he's going to do is, I'm going to prosecute Trump. I'm going to prosecute Trump. Why haven't you prosecuted Trump? Well, everyone should prosecute Trump. The only thing we should ever do as a position in any state law enforcement position is just go after the president. I think his only message here, and the only way that he thinks he's going to do anything, is just try to say, okay, I'm probably going to lose, but I might be able to rile up the super radicals to make sure they go out there and vote. I mean, I think that's the only play I see here. I don't know if I'm misreading it or not.
No, I mean that's correct. Matter of fact, I wish I had time to clip this. I was driving home tonight and I got stuck in traffic. There was an accident, so I had an extra time. I had about 45 minutes of an hour and 7-minute clip from Mark Halperin, who is now got the Next Up show that Megyn Kelly has kind of created. Right? He always had his two-way show, and I reference Mark Halperin from time to time, and he and I, we are about 50-50 on what we agree or don't agree on. But he was talking about the specific thing, and he was talking about tonight the Democrats' identity crisis and how many Democrats and Democrat insiders were coming to him and saying, look, the resistance part of this party is not going to carry us to winning elections. Sure, it looks good on a podcast. Sure, it looks good on a soundbite. But it's not going to generate votes because there is actually no intention for what we're actually voting for we have to exist, and we get bullied if we don't, like a John Fetterman as an example. You guys are seeing what happened to John Fetterman right now. Matter of fact, we should probably play that clip in a little bit. I've got it. They're talking about how many of them are concerned, like, hey, we are giving no vision for the future. We are not giving any kind of policy prescription. We're not giving any kind of like answers to questions about what voters should expect. It's just an opposition rise up. And as emotional and as exciting as that may sound, it doesn't really bring voters and votes to the party, because you don't. What are you representing? What problems are you fixing? What, mean mag Donald Trump? He's already in his second term. I mean, if you guys want to have some fun and say we're about to get a third term in 2028, sure, we can have that fun. But like, that's not really something that you can politically bank on. And so what Jay Jones is doing by trying to deflect to Trump is and creating like and whipping up this radical base that is a small percentage, in my opinion, of the Democrat Party, that is running roughshod over the Democrat Party, not offering any kind of solution at all, is not a winning message anymore. So no matter how much people hate Donald Trump and how much like that clip I sent you earlier of the boomers laying down on the rainbow sidewalk to prevent it from being taken down, that's not really garnering any votes. There's no solutions there. There are real problems that people are paying attention to, and they're not offering any solutions. They're saying Trump bad. That is not a winning message. And you don't get to go out there. And that's why, by the way, post-debate tonight, I don't know if you saw the Kalshi odds as an example, Walt.
Yes, I was actually about to bring it up, dude. It just crushed, dude. It's gone.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to bring this up because I'll put this up on the screen here. So this is the current Kalshi odds after the debate this evening. It skyrocketed up to 71% for the Republicans. So Jay Jones is going to lose. What that told me right there is that anybody that was still holding their money and they're thinking that maybe he would come into this debate and maybe somehow moderate or somehow come out and convince people that, he's actually trustworthy. They were all like, yep, nope, not at all. All you did is come out there and scream about how much you're going to prosecute Donald Trump. And that's just not a message that's going to get any moderates. I mean, the deal is that in Virginia does have a lot of moderates. Okay. They have a lot of, kind of reserved people. Then, there's a lot of undecided voters in Virginia. There's not a lot. The party lines are not as thick as they are in some of these other states. So the undecideds do matter. And I'll tell you right now, undecideds, after watching that, he didn't say anything. This is the same thing he did. He didn't have any message. He didn't say he's going to do anything good. And Jason, the whole time, Jason looked fantastic. Okay. Jason was on it. He knew exactly what he was going to say. He was perfectly on message. He answered every question. Jay Jones, on the other hand, every time they turned to him about anything, he was like, well, why haven't you prosecuted Trump yet? Like, on what? Like, what are you trying to say? You just, everything. Every single answer was just Trump. Orange man, the worst orange man, the most orange of orange man. That's all they did. So anybody that was watching that knows that that's not going to sway any moderate voters to vote for you, because it just doesn't land anymore. You can't come out and consistently say that Trump is the most evil, horrible person ever, and that everything that he does is against the law. You can't keep doing that and expect people to think, okay, well, yeah, we need to make sure we prosecute Trump. Do you think the voters in Virginia, like if you're an undecided voter, do you think that you're going to look at that and say, okay, yes, that is my number one issue in Virginia from my attorney general, to prosecute Trump? Like, what about, violent crime, or, you just actually prosecuting and actually upholding the law, actually investigating, corporations that are being fraudulent? Like, all those things are pretty important. But the only thing you had to say, Jones, was, well, but Trump's bad, and, I'm going to go after him. So there's nobody that was swayed by this. And, it just, even in his closing statement, he said Donald Trump's name 8 times in his closing statement. So I don't think this is going to work. He even decided to trot out his, he's the descendant of slaves and some other nonsense. I mean, it's like, dude, you can't play into the identity politics when you're already a scumbag. Okay. Like, it doesn't work for anybody. But, I think that this performance, I don't know if this was a strategy by them. That's why I guess I don't understand it. Like, if this was a strategy by them, it was a bad one. Because, again, I just don't think that you're going to convince people that they need to go out and run out to the polls just by screaming about Donald Trump all the time. I don't think that's going to win for you. I really don't. It's in Northern Virginia, you might get a lot more of you're going to get the voter, the federal workers are going to vote for you, but they were going to vote for you anyway. Okay, like Abigail Spanberger is the deep state candidate. Like she is endorsed by the steady state. It's like, so I think that the federal worker apparatus was already going to vote for them. So you got to win the rest of the state to have a chance too. So I don't think he won a single vote from that. I mean, anybody in any moderate position was not swayed at all.
So if I may, and this is a broad generalization, this is a leaps and bounds assumption. I don't have any data to back this up. But at a 30,000-foot view, here, if I were part of like the Spanberger camp, or I was part of another camp that was outside of the attorney general race, I would say, you have royally screwed us. Look at what you've done. You've melted all of our leads to the point where this is actually contestable. And matter of fact, based on the data that we're seeing, when I harken back to Youngkin's race, we are in deep S. We are in deep S. We are in deep trouble. You did this. You need to go out, do this debate, and put the spotlight back on you and put a face and a name to the crap that you are dragging us all down into. And we need to try to distract away from us and keep the focus on you. And you need to go out and do this debate so you don't drag the rest of us down with you. And I don't see the Virginia electorate actually falling for that. It's what it seems like it is to me. Because there was no advantage for him to go out and do a debate. There was none. He's crashing in his polls and moderately pecking away at other polls that are dragging down with him. So what I think this was an attempt to personalize the comments to one specific person and draw attention away from the rest of the races. And so my response would be what Winsome Sears put out today, 2-0, right? That was the right response. The right response was we've just now won 2 debates.
Yep.
But you guys are all the same people because you're not actually asking for him to exit the race. You're just simply denouncing words. You're condemning words, much like we've done here on this program. We make the joke that we denounce phrases. We denounce words, but we don't actually denounce the person saying it. It's just the words that we denounce.
That's right. Yeah. In the first night that we denounced words, we went after all of the culture war words, like, cisgender, all that stuff, so we haven't come up with any new condemned words yet, but we'll have to come up with something soon. But you're exactly right, though. And maybe that makes sense. Maybe that does make sense for them. They know he's going to lose. So they use him as a direct face. Don't vote for this guy. The only people he's going to get to vote for him are his radical base, I guess. And maybe he'll get the other radicals to show up to the polls for the other candidates because the other candidates are going to try and moderate more. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for you. But I do know. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it makes sense to me. And this is why I've arrived at this conclusion was let's put a face and a person to the words. That way they are associated with a singular person, not everybody else in the race is getting dragged down behind him. Unfortunately, I think that's way too late. But I think that's what it looks like to me. I could be wrong. And there's probably people laughing at me saying that that's not the strategy at all. That's possible. I understand that. But this is just my thoughts. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, well, there was no strategic advantage to have this debate at all. He's not going to recover his race. We already know how bad it is for him. I think this is his penance that he has to face for all of his BS to try to separate and put a face and an individual to the words and to it so it's not dragged upon everybody else. I just don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work either. But I'll tell you one thing. You can tell that the Democrats are panicking, okay? This is a desperation move. They're in a desperate moment. And who do they trot out when they need their superhero to fly in on a cape? None other than head communist himself, President Barack Hussein Obama. So this was earlier today.
Virginia's elections are some of the most important in the country this year, and I am proud to endorse Abigail Spanberger for governor. Republican policies are raising costs on working families so billionaires can get massive tax cuts. As governor, Abigail will stand up for Virginia families. She'll work to build an economy that works for everyone, not just big corporations and the wealthy. But it won't happen without you. Every vote counts, so turn out and vote for Abigail Spanberger for governor on November 4th. Virginia's elections are...
There you go. So they trot out Obama. They're in a desperate moment when they have to bring Obama out. And the only reason they're doing that is they're going to see if they can get more of the minority vote. Because I'll tell you right now, Winsome is actually drawing the minority vote, then they're actually probably going to show up to vote for him in pretty large numbers. I'd love it. Someone said Obama's commercial sounds like AI. Kind of does. Obama is a communist, and he is obviously recently, we've seen a lot of him recently. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. He is obviously freaking out because his legacy is being like completely decimated, and there's going to be nothing left of it by the end of this Trump term. So he's been everywhere recently. He just also put out something the other day talking about the Prop 50 legislation in California, which is the redistricting stuff. So Obama's all over the place because he's seeing that his power structure might just get completely obliterated right now, which is great. I'm happy about that. But the one problem with it is that Obama has never been able to transfer his popularity to other candidates. I don't know if you guys know this. Like most of the people that Obama has ever endorsed have actually lost their elections. It's not been a net benefit to them.
No, not at all. Matter of fact, I think this guy was a lefty that came out today. There was a whole post that he put out today, and I don't know if you saw this, but Obama is the curse. He's not a net benefit. He's a curse. He killed Kamala Harris. I mean, metaphorically, politically, by basically going after black men and telling them, scolding them for not going out for the blackest Asian woman of all time. Should definitely be president. He was scolding them. He's always the curse. But there was a thread that came out. I know I bookmarked it, man. I want to read it actually for the space, because I don't think it's any coincidence that Obama comes out after looking at internals and the Democrat Party are in shambles, and they feel like they're losing their grip in New Jersey, and they definitely feel like they're losing their grip in Virginia. And they're seeing all the data, and they're like, this is not good. Trends are trends. But this close to the culmination of a race, you don't trend back upwards anymore. Once the trajectory starts, it doesn't really stop, right? And so once you get on the bad side of things, it only trends the opposite direction. This is politics. We know this. This is why people are so sensitive to things that come out, because they don't want it to trend in a certain direction that they can't bring it back from. Man, I wish I could find this post. I can't find it. I wish I could.
No, but what you're talking about is right, though. I mean, Obama sees what's happening, okay? And there is a general trend that is to the right. And he is furious about that because Obama has built his entire power structure in his life based on extreme radical leftism. He is the chief DEI person. This is where it all came from. And his legacy is being, systematically dismantled by President Trump. And I don't think there's going to be anything left of it. So he's all over the place now. He's everywhere. He's talking about this. I love that someone said a minute ago that even Obama has the hands. Yeah, and that was something a lot of people pointed out during the debate, that Jay Jones has the hand motions, which is they don't know what to do with their hands. This is a problem with the Democrats. They just kind of they have to constantly push and fling their hands out, and every now and then Gavin Newsom has some really, really strange things that he does. It is a general problem. And Abigail Spanberger has the same issue. I don't know why they think it's a good thing. I think they believe that they're communicating their message better by using their hand signals, and it just looks ridiculous. It's completely contrived. It's all very robotic and fake looking. But yes, Obama does have those same problems. But again, the point being here that we can kind of see the trend here, that Obama is just kind of, he is obviously out here freaking out, and he's trying to come out in here and trying to, lend support to these campaigns. And all of the bigger name Democrats are doing this, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw, Hillary Clinton actually gave $2 million, or she managed to raise $2 million for Abigail Spanberger the other day. So that was her most recent campaign donation. But obviously, this whole Jay Jones story has them rattled to the point that they had to bring out the Obama big gun, even though I don't think he's the big gun that they think he is. I think he's a very unpopular communist that people have kind of sent ever since his second term. I don't think people realize that Obama, by the time he left his second term, you can see the popularity of what really happened to Obama. If you want to really see it, go look how many state legislator seats flipped to red from blue during Obama's term. The entire country flipped red. The entire country did. Every single state flipped red. So Obama completely decimated the Democrat Party, and he has somehow managed to hold on to it by installing extreme radicals within the party, like AOC and these other people, and it's just not going to work out for them. So I think this is just a panic mode from him, really.
No, I agree. I found the thread that the post that I was looking for. I put it up in the nest. You guys can go look at it for yourself. My takeaway from this, I'm going to read it if you don't mind, Walt, for people listening and people on the show. I'm going to read the entire post because I didn't find a lie in anything he said. He seems to be a left-wing populist, is what it looks like to me. Well, he, she, I don't know who it is. Doesn't matter. I haven't done much investigation because what they said here was specifically correct. And I would like to read it for the space, Walt, and for the recording and for the podcasters. I want to read this. And I want to hear where the lie is. So this was 11 hours ago, and this is from an account called @Gray GREY 4626, and they were responding to an Team Abigail Spanberger post, and that post was essentially, quote, "Don't worry, maybe one day president will endorse you too," and this was a response to Winsome Sears, but. I'm going to follow this person. They're following me. I'm not sure. It seemed like a left-wing populist account. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a right-wing account. I don't really know. And that's what's great about MAGA and Maha, because I don't really know where people are coming from. If they're saying the right things, if they pay attention and analyze the things correctly, I'm going to look at it. And I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this word for word, and I'm going to omit the cuss words, and I'm going to try to do my best to make this PG-13. So from LH Gray, oh, for F's sakes, let me break this down for these brain-dead, mouth-breathing simpletons who think Barack Obama's endorsement is some kind of golden ticket. It's not a flex. It's a GD curse. And anyone with a half-functioning neuron should see that. First off, Barack Obama, the so-called, quote, progressive messiah, is about as much of a curse as a syphilis outbreak at a swingers convention. His endorsement isn't a badge of honor. It's a scarlet letter that screams, quote, vote for this candidate and you're signing up for 8 more years of the same BS that nearly destroyed this country, end quote. The man who promised hope and change delivered an S sandwich wrapped in American flag, and now these dip S's are acting like it's caviar. Let's talk facts, you ignorant F-wits. Under Obama's watch, the national debt skyrocketed faster than a meth addict's heart rate. He bailed out. He bailed out Wall Street, while Main Street was left to rot, proving once again that the Democrats are the party of the elite, not the people. His foreign policy was a cluster F of epic proportions. Remember Libya, Syria, the Iran deal? Yeah, those were disasters that made George W. Bush look like a strategic genius. Let's not forget his domestic policies, which did jack S to address income equality, instead paving the way for the very populism that these morons now decry. But no, let's let these imbeciles think that Obama's endorsement is a flex because he's a, quote, symbol of progress. Progress my ass. Progress towards what? A police state where the NSA spies on your every move? A healthcare system that's more convoluted than a Rubik's Cube designed by a schizophrenic? Or maybe progress towards a society where identity politics trumps merit, and you're more likely to get ahead if you check the right boxes or a diversity questionnaire than if you actually work hard. And let's not forget the racial divide that was widespread under his tenure. Obama was supposed to be the great uniter, but instead he fanned the flames of racial tension faster than a pyromaniac with a gallon of gasoline. Black communities didn't see any progress. They saw more poverty, more crime, and more despair. But hey, at least he looked good doing it, right? Because apparently symbolism is more important than the substance of these brain-dead sycophants. So, Abigail Spanberger, congratulations on your endorsement from the man who single-handedly turned the Democratic Party into a laughingstock. You've just aligned yourself with a legacy of failure, incompetence, and broken promises. This isn't a flex. It's a milestone. It's a millstone around your neck, dragging you down to the abyss of irrelevance. But go ahead. Keep celebrating. Keep pretending that Obama's curse is a blessing. Because clearly, critical thinking isn't your strong suit. In conclusion, F Barack Obama, and F anyone who thinks his endorsement is anything other than a harbinger of doom. This isn't progress. It's a GD regression to the mean. And these morons are too blind to see it. So take your flex, shove it up your ass, because it's not a win, it's a loss, and a big one at that. Well put. No lie. No
Wow.
lie.
Wow. That is pretty brutal. I'm a huge fan of that. That was really good. I actually managed to find it, and I put it up on the screen as well. This is easily the most brutal, screw Obama post I think I've ever read. That's, and I've read a whole lot of stuff. About, like that is like one of the best. I'm actually bookmarking that one. That's fantastic. And I'm actually going to follow LH Gray just because of that. And looks like they do follow me as well. So I'm going to follow them as well. Just because that is such a great post. That is the most brutal takedown of Obama I've ever seen. And I'm here for it. I'm a huge fan of that. That was amazing. I couldn't say it any better. I don't know how else to read
Literally,
that.
I couldn't. I mean, it was perfect. It was literally perfect. I wish I could cuss, but I'm trying to make sure that we can be, PG.
Yeah, we got to make sure we're somewhat PG just for the show. But that is brutal, and I really, really, really like that. So make sure you guys go follow. What is the account? It's Gray4626, and looks like they've got others that are like this too. I was reading through some of the other ones before I found this one.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty solid. So I like that. That is a good takedown, and that is a good analysis, really, of what Obama has done. Because, again, and there's another guy that comes on this show that's one of our rotating co-hosts, which is Chris. And if you guys don't know who Chris is, Chris Marino, you can check his account out. He was formerly a Democrat operative, and he actually tells the story about what happened when Obama showed up in the party. And he said that he was a Democrat operative. He was a labor union guy, blue dog Democrat type guy from the workers' unions. His father was a union boss. And he tells the story. He's like, when the Obama people showed up and this ridiculous progressive stuff, they sat down with us and we were like, we're not doing that. And they're like, well, you don't have a choice. You either fall in line with the party or get out. And they were like, okay, then we're out. And that was it. And after that, that was back when all of the stuff started shifting. And that's when the state legislators started shifting to the right. That's when this power structure started to collapse because they started attacking the people that really had stood up the Democrat Party. That's what really happened. You got rid of some of your best operatives. I mean, Chris is a really good political operative. He knows how to do the game. He knows the game really well.
Yeah, no, Chris is good. Chris is good.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. And the deal is that they forced him out. I mean, what do you expect? If you force people like that out, eventually something is going to show up and they find a home there, which is what MAGA was, really. MAGA is, and this is what the big key that people don't seem to understand on the left, is that you're not going to get those people back because, one, you betrayed them to start with. And then after you betrayed them to start with, then you proceeded to tell them that everything that they do and everything that they stand for is essentially equivalent to fascisms and they're Hitler. And because they support Trump, they're also fascists. You're not going to get those people back. You've pushed them into the right-wing camp. And as a result of that, the right-wing party, the Republican Party now, is also not the same party it was back then. The people that used to run the Republican Party lost power. They thought that they managed to maintain some power during Trump 1.0, and then Trump just completely destroyed them. I mean, they didn't have any chance whatsoever. I mean, Trump just steamrolled over top of them and took the party away from them. That's really what happened, because the Republican Party of 20 years ago is not the same Republican Party it is today. And that's what a lot of people don't seem to understand. It's a completely different group of people. I mean, the people that are in charge still, like there's still a lot of the old school people that are in Congress still. But in terms of the actual voter base, the voter base is different. And when the voter base is different, it will shift naturally. It's going to eventually push all those people out, which is why you saw the never Trump people. All of those people are essentially gone now. I mean, is there anybody that's left that's still a never Trumper? Like other than Mitch McConnell, which I should probably play the Mitch McConnell clip from today. If you guys didn't see that, Mitch McConnell had a doozy. He had a little accident on the floor earlier today. Yeah, little slippy. But yeah, so but it really though, is there any like of these never Trumper people that really are still in maintaining power? I don't think so, because the ones that do, they learn very quickly that the base does not let them get away with this stuff. Now, it used to be that the base was kind of like they didn't really pay much attention to the base, but now the base gets lots of attention. Okay, like the base has actually got a lot of power now. So you can continue to whistle past this, but it doesn't work out so well. So here, 1 second here. I'll put this up on the screen just in case people did miss this. This was Mitch McConnell earlier today. So he was asked a question by a reporter and then promptly fell on his ass. So here's Mitch McConnell.
Excuse me, Senator? My name is Stella. I want to ask, do you support ICE taking working people off the streets and kidnapping them?
down he goes. So for those who are just listening and can't see this, what was just on the screen was Mitch McConnell is being led by the hand by somebody that was obviously his key support. You know, this is like the foundational brick of his support of being able to walk in a straight line. It's not like he was going downstairs or something. He's literally just walking, and someone was helping him walk. And when the reporter came up to him and started asking him questions, they let go of his hand, or he tried to let go of his hand so he could, prove that he could walk or something, I guess. And immediately he fell down, like instantaneously. So this is right here. This is the representative of the Never Trumper movement within the old Republican structure. That's it right there. You just saw it. And he, didn't look so great. We really need to get the geriatrics out of Congress. Like, we really, really need to. And everyone likes to say when you see videos like this, what about term limits? Guys, you're not going to get term limits, okay? The people are not going to vote to give themselves less power. It's not going to happen. The only way you would ever manage to get term limits is if you somehow manage to get a convention of states. And a convention of states has its own problems, okay? It's something that has never happened before. Doesn't mean it won't ever happen, but at the same time, you then have to go get this is what a lot of people, when they start talking about that, they forget that even after a convention, it then has to still go be ratified by all of the state legislators. Like even if you do it,
like, I mean, to that point, like this has been my this is like one of the things that like drives me up a wall. I'm like, in what world do you believe that this convention of state, the governors are actually going to act in accordance with what you've radically done using the convention of states method? These governors are going to fall in line. They're going to be squishy, both Republican and Democrat. You're not going to get what you want to get. And if you do that, you are going to put yourself at serious risk. Now, do I believe in convention of states? Yes, because I believe in federalism. I believe in our constitutional republic. But I don't believe that we have enough governors on the right side of things in this country to actually do anything effectively. And it's only just another Democrat power grab.
Yeah, I just don't. But the problem is that you still, even if you went, the governors weren't, like, say you had the governors to fall in line, you've got to convince the entire state. You have to convince 37 states to then ratify any of the changes you did, and that has to go through those state legislators. Like that's not going to happen. Like, I mean, you say, and I heard someone the one day, this is the most hilarious comment when someone's like, well, I don't want that to happen either because all of those state legislators are corrupted too. It's like, okay, look, dude, if you think every single state legislator in every single state is corrupted to the point that they would just pass through crazy radical reforms to the Constitution, then you should just give up now. Like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You just give it up. Everything's over. The world's on fire. Everyone's going to die. You are right about all of that. The sun will explode at any minute. But anyway, but the point is that even if you manage to somehow do this, get a convention up and running, which it's never happened. I think currently there's 7 states or something that are trying to have it pushed through right now. You still need to get that number all the way up. So you have to get up to, I think you have to have 37 states of that just to be able to start the convention as well. And then you would have to go to Congress, and then they would or you have to go to DC. Then they would have to try and make the changes, and then it has to get ratified. Guys, I just don't see how that's going to work out. Like, you're not going to convince 37 state legislators to make radical changes to the Constitution. It's not going to happen. So, but anyway, so term limits to me, I don't see any big push of that because, one, the people that are in power, why would they ever vote to give themselves less power? Why would they do that? It's not going to happen. Okay, so the term limits concept's out. What we just need to do is we need to make sure that these people like Mitch McConnell, when they reach an obvious point where they cannot function in Congress anymore, the party just needs to look at them and say, time to step down, bud. We're not going to support your candidacy anymore. We don't care how much power you have. Everyone just needs to go, okay, it's time to retire. Like, it's time to retire. You got to go home. Like, it's time for you to go home, dude. Like, you did a great job. And, people can say whatever they want about Mitch McConnell. They can. But at the same time, Mitch McConnell is the reason that we managed to get a conservative court. Okay. He is the reason. He's managed to hold up Merrick Garland. He managed to get it through in the Senate. He managed to get us the conservative court that we have right now that is making major changes. So you got to give him some credit. Okay. He has a legacy that is actually useful for the Republican Party and very, very good for conservatism. So Mitch McConnell has done things in the past that were very helpful. But the problem is that he's part of the old guard. That's really what he is. He is the representative of the old guard in Congress and in the Senate. So he just needs to stop and needs to go home. But these kind of people are never going to leave. It's just like Dianne Feinstein. She was literally dead. Her daughter had power of attorney while she was still a sitting member of Congress. Like, it's crazy to me. I mean, you saw Nancy Pelosi yesterday. We played that clip of her screaming at the reporter. She was being led away by somebody holding her hand, making sure she didn't fall over. Like, at some point, the wheelchair accessibility of the Capitol is going to be put to a serious test. I mean, at some point, all of these people are going to be like 97,000 years old, and they're going to be wheeling into Congress. I mean, who was it the other day? Didn't we see someone on the House floor that had a walker? Was that also Nancy? That might have been Nancy that had the walker on the floor the other day, too. I thought that was ridiculous. I mean, it's just like, come on. Can you guys go home? Like, just at least pass the torch. Like, even if it's to somebody that's ridiculous, just pass the torch on, because you're simply not able to do the job. And obviously these jobs are not, they are important. So let's put some normal people in there. But anyway, so there was Mitch McConnell today falling all over himself.
What was great about that is that Scott Jennings is waiting, right? So Scott Jennings came up under McConnell. We know this. He was even part of Romney's thing. And then we've seen him move to like commentator / journalist, which he started. He's got a PR firm, and he is basically trying to like levy for that seat. Like, Kentucky politics is wild, by the way. I mean, we could probably have a whole space on Kentucky politics. That's insane. Maybe we do that after the midterms. Maybe we talk about Kentucky politics a little bit and how Mitch McConnell kind of ran it like the mafia.
Yeah.
I know this for a fact. I know how he ran it in Kentucky. I know people who had interacted with it. Anyway, long story boring. Scott Jennings is actually going for that seat, and I think rightfully so. I think it'd be great, and good luck to him and all the things. I love Scott Jennings when he's taking down these lunatics like what was his name? Bakari.
Oh, I don't
whatever
know.
his name is.
Whatever his name is. Listen, no one knows the name of any of those people on the CNN
Bakari
shows.
Sellers. Yeah. So,
listen, the Scott Jennings show is so. Go ahead.
But the point I want to make is this: is that I can point to many things that I am absolutely loathing and detesting of Mitch McConnell. But you were right. Preventing Merrick Garland. However, I mean, we had to live through lawfare and weaponized government because Merrick Garland couldn't get his Supreme Court nomination that he wanted due to Mitch McConnell, ultimately Harry Reid, and Obama's second term before he was leaving office. But aside from all that, yeah, like we're not going to get term limits. I've tried to say that maybe we negotiate, kind of like a apprenticeship type of process for senators and people in the House coming in who are filling incumbent seats that have been there for 40 plus years, whatever it may be, like kind of like a apprenticeship type program. I would like that. Because the arguments that you've made against term limits is that we've been here for some time. We know how this thing works. We know how the sausage is made, and we know how to play the politics correctly to get what you want to get done that you voted for to begin with. It's actually a solid argument. I would counter saying, well, okay, no term limits, but you need to have an apprenticeship program. You need to actually bring people up underneath you that get the education, that understand this, that can fill that role once they land in those spots. But with that being said, yeah, like it's time. Dianne Feinstein getting her corporeal form being wheeled into the Senate Intelligence Committees and her role, what's happening with Mitch McConnell, what's happening in the House and anything else. So, I think that at the end of the day, they're not going to win that argument. I don't want a convention of states. It's stupid right now. We're too soon for convention of states. If we get more based and it continues to trend the way it's been trending the last 10 years towards Republicans who are now being taken over by MAGA, America First people, then maybe we can have that conversation, but we're not there yet. There's too many squishes out there. There's too many paid losers in too many positions of power. We can't rely on or trust on them. So pushing that would be a Democrat talking point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that generally. I mean, I don't think this is a good idea. To be honest with you, what we really need to do in the Republicans, the MAGA movement, I guess you could call it, the new Republicans, the new version of this, what really needs to happen is we need to actually do the work. Okay, like there's a bunch of people that when this happened in Trump's first term, everyone thought that Trump was just going to show up and fix it all. And then we realized very quickly that the entire apparatus was weaponized against him and it was not going to be possible with just him. And now you see the next version of this is where he's got a superstar team that's surrounding him that's actually getting stuff done. But the reality is to fix the party, to fix the Republican Party and really get all those people out, that's going to take every single one of us to actually work in our local areas, work with your local precincts, actually show up to these events. I mean, these things are usually run by like 10 people that no one has any idea who they are. And they live in these little worlds where they have all the power in their little precinct because no one challenges it, because no one goes to it. No one has any idea that it's even there. They don't know what days that they show up. What you should do is you should go grab 10 of your friends. If you really want to make own a Republican precinct, you can probably do it. Go get 10 of your friends, show up at one of those meetings, say you're all Republicans, and then vote everybody out of there out. Like that would just, it would completely, they would be furious, and they will be furious. And by the way, we have friends of ours that have done this, and it has ended in them all being very, very angry at them because they took their little fiefdom away from them. But the reality is, if you want to make a change and you actually want to put real people in and get precinct people up that actually get to vote on who the candidates are and stuff like that, that has to come from the bottom up. And that in the Republican Party, this is possible. In the Democrat Party, it's not possible anymore because they have the superdelegate structure. But you can do it in the Republican Party. The Republican Party, you can actually go from the bottom up and make that change. And there was a big push a couple years ago. There was a guy that had a precinct strategy thing that he was pushing at everybody. I don't know how successful it was, but I do still know that the last numbers we looked at for those precinct chairman positions, I think there was like over 200,000 of them that were open across the country. So if you really want to make a difference, go figure out where your local precinct is and see who runs it, because I guarantee you it's like 6 old dudes and they're all like 75 years old and they meet on Thursdays to play bingo. Like that's probably what your precinct chair is in your Republican Party in your local area. Like there's probably no one very active in it. And you could probably take it over and actually do something with it reasonably easily. And that's pretty good to do. So everyone should do that. So, but I think the best way for us to fix the Republican Party is, and it still can be fixed. That's obvious now. If everyone thought that it wasn't possible to fix the Republican Party, you've been proven wrong by the fact that Trump exists. Okay, just the fact that Trump is the president and he's been the president twice now, that proves that you can change things in the Republican Party if you have the willpower to do so. So that's going to eventually be the future of the Republican Party. And I think that now there is more activated political people currently than I've ever seen before. I mean, it is wild to watch. I mean, it just, when I was growing up, some people paid attention to politics, but, not nearly as much as, as there is now. Now there's there's almost, I think Kevin was what brought it up, but Kevin Smith, you guys don't know who he is. Make sure you follow Kevin. He brought it up. He said, when I was first getting involved in politics, there was not that many people involved in commentating on politics. Now, all of the people that used to commentate on like sports and stuff are commentating on politics, and they're really bad at it. They need to go back to sports. But he's kind of accurate about one thing. It's like there's just more people here. There's just more people involved, and you can actually see that in the raw numbers of people showing up to vote. I mean, Trump got more votes than anybody else in American history. No one cares about. Shut up about Biden, okay? No one believes he got 88 bazillion million votes, and that they all magically disappeared for Kamala Harris. No one buys that, okay? But the reality is that more people voted in that election than has ever voted before, and it's increasing. The amount of people that are voting is increasing. So if that's the case, that just means there's just more people involved in politics now, and that's a good thing. I mean, you should be involved in politics. Everyone should pay attention to it. It does matter. I mean, if you actually try and work at it, you might be able to make a real difference. But anyway, for the Republican Party, I think if they actually manage to get rid of these old people, if you get rid of people like Mitch McConnell, I don't know how Scott Jennings would act as an actual sitting senator. But, I mean, anybody's going to be better than Mitch McConnell because Mitch McConnell can't talk, can't walk, and is literally falling down and dying on the floor. So hopefully we can get rid of that, and then we'll be a whole lot better off.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have no idea what he's going to be like as a sitting senator, but I'm assuming he's going to be better than most in Kentucky, including the legacy children of Kentucky's elite, like Andy Bashir, as an example. But no, I don't really know how it's going to happen, and I hope that something does come of it. But at the end of the day, I think that whether or not I guess what I'm trying to say is I think that people would be remiss if they were not reminded of what McConnell had done, and he sacrificed a Senate majority to remain in power as a minority leader in the Senate, and he did that, and by putting in Murkowski in a race in Alaska that was against 2 Republicans, and they trotted out the weighted voting type system out there, and they tested it out there, and that's how Murkowski got in, and
ranked choice
voting.
Oh, by the way, you brought up Collins. That reminds me of something. So a couple times on the show, I've brought up, there's that Senate race that's going on up there, and there was a new guy that declared that I thought was reasonably interesting, and I was like, maybe this guy is actually the future of the Democrat Party. A reasonable future. Like that's what my argument was. The guy's name is Graham Plattner. So he's some former Marine, or maybe he was Navy SEAL or whatever it was. But he's like a masculine acting guy. He's a built guy. He's talking about his community. He's an oyster farmer. Blah 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 blah. But he's going to go up against Susan Collins. I was like, oh, that's good. That'd be nice if he's actually not, a gay communist. Well, I spoke too soon. He's a gay communist. Well, I don't know if he's gay, but he is a communist. And he actually says
I mean,
specifically
any
that he's a
communist is gay to me, whether
Well,
they're actually homosexual or just gay.
That's true. That's true. But no, apparently he actually is a communist. So there's been a leaked section of his Reddit chats. And I'll see if I can pull this up here. I know I commented on it earlier. Because I just said, oh, and he's a communist. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know why I was surprised. I shouldn't have been surprised. I shouldn't have been, thinking that it was going to be something other than what it was. But if I remember correctly, here we go. I found it. So I'll put it up here on the screen so people can see what I'm talking about here. So this is Graham Plattner. So Graham Plattner is a Maine Democrat running for Senate, and he's talked about he's independent oyster guy. Well, in this image here, you can see this. These are his actual posts, and he says, "I'm a vegetable growing, psychedelic taking socialist these days." And he also says, "I still got the guns though because I don't trust the fascists to act politely." And then there's another post here that says, "I got older and became a communist." Wonderful. I mean, just okay. Whatever, dude. What's the difference between you and any other Democrat then? I was hoping that this guy was actually going to be someone that's normal. Taking mushrooms and talking about fascist and how you're a communist is not promising. I'll just say that.
No, and we had that guy. I don't want to use that word. I was going to say pegged, and I really don't want to use that word in this context. We had that guy signaled in. We had him zeroed in. We knew who he was. And I watched this guy, and he has the goatee and the red and blonde hair, and he's just an oyster farmer. He's just a good old boy who happens to also be a gay communist, and that's GHEY, because I don't think he's homosexual, but GHEY, gay communist. We can call him a retard, sure. That's a lot on X now. No, this is the problem. This is the point. And as much as I hated Susan Collins' voting record, at the end of the day, I understood the dynamics of Maine. I understood the dynamics of New Hampshire as an example, which, by the way, there's a wild race going on right now in New Hampshire. I can't believe Sununu's even remotely trending behind, since he's one of the most popular politicians in that state. And New Hampshire just can't get their stuff figured out. They can't figure it out. I'm not concerned about New Hampshire right now. I'm not really concerned about the Atlantic Northeast. However, these are the people that are sprouting up, that are putting their hat in the ring, so to speak. It's all more of the same.
Yep.
So, again, as much as I hate Collins, and definitely as much as I hate Murkowski, she's a loser.
Yeah, but they're not gay communists.
They're not gay communists. I mean, I can get 50% of the things I want from them.
It's just amazing to me. I was hoping that when I saw this guy, so there's another, there's a commentator on X that he's I guess I would consider him a Democrat operative, I guess. And he was the one who showed me this, and he sent me his initial video, and I was like, well, that sounds good. I mean, I don't agree. This guy says he wants free healthcare for everybody. I was like, whatever. I don't agree with that. But maybe, he's acting like a normal person in the video, and he's, sounds okay. And he's like, okay, well, maybe this guy's not a gay communist, and that's great, because I would really like it for there to be non-gay communist Democrats. That would be amazing. But of course, I spoke far too soon. I should have never expected that he was not a gay communist. I should have just assumed immediately that he was. And of course, it only took less than a month for me to find out that he is a gay communist. But here's the other thing. I didn't think this guy actually had a chance because of one thing. He's a straight white guy. No chance. No way. No way in hell he was going to get he was going to win the primary in the Democrat Party right now. That's not going to work. You guys have decimated masculinity to the point that there's no way this guy will win anyway. And of course, and I said that probably about a month ago. I said that to a couple people. I was like, I don't think so. And it's the reason why is because he's a straight white guy, and it looks like we lost the X feed. So I'll pull that back up here in just a second. But the reality is, because the moment that you have a straight white guy, it's not going to work. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. They're not going to let him. They're not going to let him into the party. They're not going to bring him in. What they're going to do is they're going to find some woman to run against him. And sure enough,
did we lose you on a phone call, or are you still there?
Yeah, I'm coming back into the space. Hold on a second here, guys.
Good old X crashing our streams.
Yeah, hold on just a second, guys. Pulling it back up, and I'll be back into the show in just a second here. There we go.
Bringing up Bakari Sellers earlier, because Stephen A. Smith went absolutely X. Great technology.
Oh, yes.
It fails every time.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, sorry. So I was continuing to talk in the midst of this, but the deal with this guy, with Graham Plattner here, is it, and I said this about a month ago. I said, well, the problem is he's a straight white guy. And the problem with being a straight white guy in the Democrat Party is that they won't let you win. So my theory was that they were going to find some woman to run against him, and she'll win the primary, and she'll get all the money from the Democrats because that's just how it works. And sure enough, less than a month into this, less than a month after saying that, the current governor of Maine, Mills, announced her candidacy. So she's going to be the next senator, or the next Democrat candidate in Maine to run against Collins. So, you know, sorry, Graham. I guess I don't really care anymore. I thought it was good for you. But, you know, you being a psychedelic taking communist means that I don't support you anymore. So I don't care. I guess I'll stick with Collins then. Oh, well, you know, I was hoping that it was going to be a normal Democrat. And then if it was a normal person, that I would be like, okay, well, maybe we can get rid of Collins. I don't really care about her. I don't like her anyway. But if this is the guy, nope, going to stick with Collins. Sorry, dude. You're a gay communist. I don't want you. Anyway, so that's just the bit I wanted to bring up on that. So this is the current people in the Democrat Party, dude. Like, they're all like this. All of them. Like, it's like, why are you all communist? Like, can you not be communist? Mom Commie is not going to help you out, guys. Like, you're not going to win national elections running on policies from Mom Dami. Okay, it's just not going to work. Even though, and this is amazing. This is my favorite thing ever, is that all of the Democrats are using Mom Dami's talking points, the lowering costs thing. Like, I'm absolutely laser focused on lowering costs for my constituents. Like, I love that they keep bringing this up, because all I think about every time I hear them say that, is, you know, that chart that the Democrat account put out a while back where it shows the skyrocketing inflation underneath Joe Biden, and they stupidly posted it. They were like, see how high Trump's got the cost. And it's like, you morons, like, you see the exact time frame when the prices increased, and it was underneath the Democrats. So the other day I put this meme out. And I'll pull it up on the screen, see if I can find it real quick. It is just a perfect representation of this. And, you know, guys, you know the goose meme, where it's like, you know, it's the goose is staring at a person. It's like, wait, what did you say? And then you ask the question again, and they go chasing after them. That's the Democrats right now. It's like, you guys are talking about costs. Like, okay, well, but why are the costs high? Like, why are they? Like, wasn't it you who raised the cost? Oh, wait, it was you guys who raised the cost. Like, what the hell's the matter with you? So, but that's what they want to do. They want to talk about costs. We got to make sure we lower costs for everybody. Yeah, here we go. This is the meme. So, like, and this is what Abigail Spanberger is doing in Virginia. She's saying, I need to make it more affordable for all my constituents all across Virginia. And I love the AI slop that she puts out. All across Virginia, people tell me about raising costs is always so expensive. Well, but who raised the costs? You idiots did. So why would we put you back in power so that you can raise them some more? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But this is what they're running with. This is what they think. This is good messaging for them. They think that talking about costs constantly is somehow winning messaging for them. And the only reason it's working for them is because Mom Commie in New York, he is getting it to work. But they forget that New York City is like one of the most liberal cities in the country. Of course it's going to work for the ridiculous liberals that live there. Like, you're not going to get that messaging to work on a national scale, though. But they think so. I guess they think that New York is representative of the entire country. I don't know how else to read it. Maybe that's what they believe.
Well, I mean, to the point. I mean, he's the only one that's actually offering any kind of policy solutions. I'm not saying that his solutions are correct, nor am I saying that they're actually not brain rotted, retarded, communist type policy presentations. But he's the only one that's simply offering any alternative to Trump is bad. Therefore, we are the opposition. Therefore, we are the resistance. I would say the American people are tired of, quote unquote, the resistance. The last time we saw the resistance that had any kind of manifestation that was actually really important or impactful, I wouldn't say important, but impactful, was the Summer of Love, the fiery but mostly peaceful protests. And that was the last time we saw the resistance being any kind of anything that was substantial, even though it was completely wrong and destructive and terrible. I mean, he is the only guy that's offering policy prescriptions, which are terrible, which will bankrupt the city. You will run people out of property ownership, real estate ownership, and business and corporation revenue by inching up even more so the the corporate costs and the tax rates. But at least he's offering a position and he's speaking it well. No matter how retarded and stupid it is, at least he's giving a cogent type of response with this policy prescriptions. And this is why they're hiding behind it. And they're also afraid of their progressive wing, and they can't get away from it. And all the grifters, all of the NGO people, all the people who are, authors of 7 books that are just completely, money laundering operations that are paying you to prop you up on CNN and MSNBC, like a Bakari Sellers as an example, which I sent you this clip, which I think we should play, where Stephen A. Smith is absolutely going after Bakari Sellers, talking about Jasmine Crockett, who is an absolute fraud and phony and whatever. All these phonies who have no business, like a Katie Porter or like a Jasmine Crockett or like any of these other people, they have no business being anywhere near politics, yet they've been somehow astroturfed into being these positions. And now you're having people who have come over who are still trying to remain Democrat, moderate, independent mind thinking, saying, I have nothing that I identify with you. The people like Mondami, who are a wolf in sheep's clothing, who will bring upon the destruction of one of our greatest cities in this country, in New York City, is popular because he's the only person spouting anything of any kind of policy prescription. The only other people that are doing it is Bernie and AOC.
Yep.
And again, all their ideas are stupid and bad, but they're the only ones bringing the policy prescription. Everyone else is saying Trump is bad, including what happened in the Virginia Attorney General debate that happened tonight. So they have a problem.
Yeah, let's play
and
this.
I don't think they're going to win for a very long time.
I don't think so. I think that it's they don't understand that for some reason, and this is some stupid idea that the Democrats have, is that they still are under the misconception that they lost in 2024, that they lost because of Joe Biden and because of the strangeness of the election, because he was dead, and then they had to put Kamala in there, and then she only had 117 days. Like, you can see what their messaging is. They think, like, you had to go look at the narrative arc. Okay, what comes after the election? Original Sin comes out. That's Jake Tapper's book, saying Original Sin. The original sin was Biden running again, right? And then the next big book that comes out is 117 days, and that's Kamala Harris coming out here and saying she only had 117 days for her historic campaign, where she was the most qualified presidential candidate in history, which is just hysterical. But you see what the narrative arc is, right? They didn't really lose. They didn't really lose, according to the Democrats. They didn't really lose. It wasn't their policies that were unpopular. It's because of the circumstances of the campaign. That's why they think they lost, and they're just
because of Biden
wrong.
And Jill Biden and Dr. Biden, they held on too long. They should have given it up earlier, and we would have had a win.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So let's see what does Steven said. I assume this sets this up. So let's play what he has to say here.
So let me set this up a little
Go
bit.
ahead.
Hang on. So this is Stephen A. Smith. Again, I'm shouting him out because he's saying the right things. It's fine with me. He's been pretty consistent on his appeal. Although it's kind of crazy to watch Stephen A. Smith move away from football and like sports and ESPN to go into politics, but like, he's not wrong, and I think he deserves the Sirius XM channel that he has. I'm not here supporting the guy. He and I disagree on many things, but he has been consistent, much like a Bill Maher has been consistent. And so if you remember when we played his clip a couple days ago when he was going after Jasmine Crockett, apparently Bakari Sellers, who is like a perennial, rotating guest on Abby Phillips' show with Scott Jennings and many of the other people, this guy's an idiot. Like, he's a really stupid person. He's a partisan grifter. He's a really terrible, stupid person. And any black or African Americans that live in this country should be offended by his existence, let alone the shit that he says. But Stephen A. Smith was actually really pissed off about how he responded to Stephen A. Smith about calling out Jasmine Crockett ghetto butterfly eyelashes, ghetto tears, fake private school, elite upbringing Jasmine Crockett, code switching up Jasmine Crockett. Bakari Sellers did go after and call Stephen A. Smith a charlatan. And so this is his response, and I think that he deserves his just due by saying this on this recorded space in our political theater, because it's hilarious.
Yeah, let's go ahead and play this here then. Let's see here.
Bakari Sellers needs to recognize is why don't you tell what the truth is? Why don't you speak about the level of resentment that you really, really have? That the American people are more willing to listen to somebody like me or the others that you mentioned rather than you, who's been doing this for years, out of South Carolina and then some. Nobody care what you have to say. I'm giving you pub right now by talking about you. Because this is the kind of individual he is. I could come at somebody like that who chooses to be disrespectful. You know my number. You could have reached me a long time ago. We could have had discussions a long time ago. The only time you ever reached out to anybody is when you wanted to sell your book. So it doesn't matter to me what you've accomplished. It doesn't matter to me how intelligent you are. It doesn't matter to me how knowledgeable you are, because nobody wants to listen to you, because your intent and your disposition and your default position is to attack personally people you don't even know. A charlatan? That implies I'm a fraud. How am I fraudulent? My work speaks for itself. I've been doing this for years. And SiriusXM wanting to come to me, I got news for you. CNN will want me before they want you, and you work there. Not to mention other networks. Don't hate on us because of what you ain't. Step up and be more than that by focusing on the issues. And if we don't know, teach us. That's all you got to do. Teach us. If you're right, we'll listen to you. And instead of me calling you out on the airways, what I do instead is sit on the air and say, hey, this makes perfect sense, man. Bakari Sellers is right. Just like I've said Van Jones is right. Just like I've said others are right. On the left and the right. You bought and paid for on one side. Don't even want to hear what the other has to say. But you talking about me. Sit your ass down.
I actually really enjoyed that. That was fantastic. Listen, I know that we've had a couple of people talking about Stephen Smith saying that, well, he's some sort of charlatan. He's a chameleon. He'll just do whatever. Look, I don't care what he's doing. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is because at the end of the day, him being anywhere where he has viewers, if he starts talking like that, will sway people to the more moderate position. Okay, so even if he's just doing it to get an audience, even if that's the only reason he's doing it, say he's just doing it to make money, he's just doing it to do this. If he wants that audience, the only way he will have that audience is by talking more like that. Okay, that's how you get more people to listen to your show. You get more people to listen to your show, and more people hear the moderate position, and it'll sway more people. That's all that matters. Okay, so at the end of the day, even if he doesn't,
that's all I want.
Exactly. We like in the moderate position, and I love that he calls him out. Like CNN would want me on their network, and you work there. That was hysterical. That's a great line. I really like that. But here's what I said the other day. By the nature of the work that he's doing now, going into talk radio is 100% dominated by conservatives. Okay, there is no such thing as a popular leftist, talk show. There just isn't.
Well,
okay,
there was. It was funded by the government through NPR.
Well,
to be fair.
Yes. Okay. Well, non-propaganda paid USAID, systems. Yes. Okay. I'm talking about a normal, organic, successful show. And the reason you know that is because there's not clips of them. Okay. And how many clips can you think of? Just think for a moment. Just take a second. Think about this. How many clips can you name from different commentators that most people know and most people pay attention to do you see on a regular basis? Hundreds of them.
Typically, the only clips I can pull up from memory, like out of nowhere, would be Saturday Night Live, where they were making fun of NPR.
Right.
Not actual NPR clips.
Yeah, but the conservative side, you can think of dozens off the top of my head. I can name 15 top.
Rush, Dan Bongino, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, Will Calmajority, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, and Michael Knowles. You just go down the list.
Bill O'Reilly, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Bill O'Reilly is like Bill O'Reilly is I like Bill O'Reilly a lot because I used to watch the O'Reilly Factor with my dad when I was growing up. So I like Bill, but he is old now. Like Bill, dude,
this is no longer
retire.
The spin zone.
The spin zone is spinning into the ground. Like, I love you, Bill. You were great when you were on the air. I thought you were some of the best commentary I ever heard on Fox. Actually, was from Bill. But dude, you're super old now. Like, you're super old, and you just should, take your book money and retire. You've got like 25 best-selling books. Like, just go retire. Go ahead.
No, to be fair, Walt, I mean, this is where I remember Glenn Beck. I remember 2004, 2005, 2006, and I'm running around my territory in Iowa for an insurance company that I was working for out of Wisconsin. And I would listen to Glenn Beck. He was on the radio. And I was like, you know what? That dude actually kind of makes some sense. I actually like what he's saying here. And Glenn Beck has gone through, a million changes. And whether you like him or not is irrelevant to me. I don't really care. You have to admit, back from 2002 to 2008, Glenn Beck on the radio. And this is the time where Sean Hannity was butting up with Glenn Beck. And he was the next person on the radio. And I would always turn it because I couldn't stand Sean Hannity. And listen, I'm probably going to pay for that comment. I'm probably in the future because he's not getting any younger. However, him marrying and having kids with Ainsley is a big deal. Shout out to you, Sean Hannity, for that. But I remember Glenn Beck being on the radio and being syndicated back then. And this is a time when I was still listening to Howard Stern, and I was still listening to a lot of these people, and I spent a lot of time on the road. But dude, we are not there. We are in 2025. We are not there. And conservative hosts and conservative radio has always dominated. Even if it was in the minority, it still dominated.
Yeah.
But here we are now.
I mean, the deal is that there just isn't such thing as some leftist talk show. There just isn't. They just don't exist. So the deal is when you see something like Stephen Smith, it's what's going to happen is, just by the nature of his show, if he wants it to be popular and successful, regardless of why he's doing it, okay, guys? The point is, it doesn't matter why he's doing it. The point is, just by the nature of him having it, he will eventually naturally shift his listening to the right more, because that's the only way you'll keep an audience, okay? And if more people listen to him because he's Stephen Smith, then great. That means a whole bunch of new people come into the conservative movement because he'll have to talk about conservative stuff if he's going to do it. That's just how it'll work. It is a net benefit to the movement, I would say. Net benefit, there's no negative to it in my eyes. At least I can't think of any right now. But anyway, all of these people, all of these talk show hosts, again, you know that they don't exist because you don't see them. You don't see clips of them. And by the way, here's something I do want to put out there into the ether. For the love of God, people, stop sharing Jimmy Kimmel clips. I am not interested. I don't care. Just because he had please just let him go back to his 8.5 people that watch his show. Okay. I'm not interested in Jimmy Kimmel. I'm just not. I don't care what he has to say. He had his one moment. Here's the stupid thing about Kimmel. He had that moment. He could have actually increased his audience side by 5x. He could have.
1,000%.
He had the opportunity to, but nope. He came out there and the most recent thing someone said, he's calling MAGA supporters domestic terrorists now. It's okay, please stop sharing this guy. Just let him go back into irrelevance, people. I don't want to see Jimmy Kimmel clips. I don't like him. I never did like him. He had the opportunity to fix what he did. He didn't. Now he can just go back and eventually go out of business, just like Stephen Colbert and everybody else. Okay, no one's going to watch it. Gutfeld's going to continue to dominate you guys because Gutfeld's actually funny. I just don't, please, for everyone out there, please stop sharing Jimmy Kimmel clips. No one wants to hear what he has to say. He's not interesting and he's not funny. And nothing he says is interesting. So, I just don't care. So please, enough with the Jimmy Kimmel clips. Okay, guys, we've only got about, normally we run the show about, we're trying to cut it down if we've run out of content. We had some good stuff here this evening, though, guys. So if you guys would like to come up and join us on stage for the last few minutes here, if you got about 10 minutes left about 15 minutes left before we shut down for the evening, if you guys want to come up and request, you're welcome to request. If you were on any of the other streams on Facebook, or sorry, not Facebook, not yet at least. If you guys are on, not Facebook yet, but if you're on Substack, if you're on X, if you're on YouTube, Rumble, if you want to join the show, you need to go to X and you got to go to @ThePoliticalTheater, which is TPT 2025. That's the account, or @TrashDiscourse. And you can find the show and you can request and come up on stage, and you're welcome to ask any questions or have any commentary if you guys are having something to say. If not, we'll shut down a little bit early this evening, but we'll open it up for the last few minutes here. But generally, just speaking on this, I don't know. I think that was probably one of my favorite clips he's done so far for Stephen Smith there. I loved that. I just love the line. The best line is, "They want me on your network more than you, and you work there." I don't care, guys. That's a damn good line. I don't care what you guys think. That's a great line. That is an absolute banger. Speaking of bangers, by the way, this is another thing here. that I should put up on the screen because this was an absolute banger today. Now, guys, I love when President Trump just absolutely does, like, no one else speaks like this, okay? No one else in politics in my entire lifetime has ever spoken like this. This was earlier today. So President Trump puts a message out, and it's just the shortest truth ever. He says, if Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, I know there's a bunch of people out there that are like, what? We just got a peace deal. Yeah, sure, we did just get a peace deal.
Sure,
but that doesn't mean he won't go kill all of you. Like, I mean, like,
Yeah.
I love it. Like, it is so perfect. This is so Trump. Everything about that is so Trump. I was like, damn. Like, no one else talks like that. No one else talks like that at all in politics. It's like, if you guys don't calm down, I'm going to come kill you. Like, I will. I'm just going to kill you. Like, and you're just going to have to deal with it. I thought that was beautiful. That was the perfect truth. That was earlier today. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my God. Like, it's such fafo, dude. I'm here for every second of it. And to be honest with you, I don't care about Hamas at all, guys. Like, blow them all out of the water. I don't care about them at all.
I don't care. Yeah.
There was somebody that was like, someone commented when I talked about this earlier. They were like, but what about the no wars president? Oh, guys, we dropped a bomb. We dropped a bomb in the center of Iran in the middle of the night with B-2 stealth bombers and wiped out their entire nuclear facility in 12 hours. Okay. And you think that us killing Hamas is going to somehow, like, start a war? No one gives a shit about these people. Even the Arab nations don't like these people. Okay. Like, it doesn't matter at all. Does not matter at all. Thank you for your attention to this matter, though. That I just loved that. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Just beautiful.
I voted for all this, Walt.
Yes.
I voted for all of it. I'm here for it. I don't care.
Absolutely.
Like, I literally don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. All right. So to your point, guys, we are wrapping up. We got like 10 or 15 minutes left. Jack Tron joined the stage. If you guys want to come up, leave a comment. You want to debate? You want to add some flair? The more flair than the actual required amount of flair to this conversation, please come up. If not, we'll shut it down. But Jack has his hand up. He is very excited to weigh in on this.
What's up, Jack Tron?
Absolutely, I am. Now, there's just one other story that I saw today that I think was pretty interesting. It was I saw reports that there was a piece on Axios that there's a plot by the Democrats to oust John Fetterman.
Yeah,
Did you
that's correct.
See that?
Oh,
Yeah, no,
I'm
I put
actually
it
not
out.
surprised by that. I'm not surprised by that. I didn't see that actually.
Okay, you can go to my page. I put this out, and I actually sent you, Walt. The last clip I sent you was actually John Fetterman speaking the night before this weird hit piece came out on Axios. If you go to my page, you can find the Axios piece that I put out. I archived it, so you don't have to pay for the paywall. That's my contribution to you. You can get it for free versus paying for it. But it's all based on a reaction to him speaking the night before.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got the clip already pulled up. So let me go ahead and play it here, and then we'll talk about it for a second here because I do have a couple comments on Fetterman.
I'm the only Democrat in my family. I grew up in a conservative part of Pennsylvania, and I grew up and I know and I love people that voted for President Trump. But they are not fascists. They're not Nazis. They're not trying to destroy the Constitution and those things. And that's part of another thing. I refuse to call people Nazis or fascists, or I would never compare anybody to Hitler and those things. And now that kinds of extreme rhetoric is going to continue. We're going to be more likely in resulting in extreme kind of outcomes and political violence and doing all these kinds of things like Charlie Kirk. For me, all I could say is like, let people grieve. Give people the space. I'm not going to use that terrible thing and that Pasek assassination to make my argument and try to put out my views. It's like, my God, he's a father that had his neck blown out by a bullet. And now people have forgotten. President Trump was in my state, was shot in the head. And if that could you imagine where our nation would be if he was hit in the same way with Kirk? We really got to turn the temperature down. And we can agree to disagree on these kinds of things. But right now, shutting down the government, I just can't take it that. I'm the only.
Well, So yeah, I mean, listen to me. Fetterman in general, and we've said this many, many times on this show, is that Fetterman is proving yet again that the only Democrat that is not insane is the one that has actual brain damage. I will say, though, here. I will say though here it appears that he is actually improving, which is good. I'm happy for him. I hope he makes a full recovery from his stroke because that is much better than he was a year ago. I haven't listened to Fetterman a whole lot here recently, but that's much better than he was about a year ago. So that's great. I hope he continues to improve. But what he's talking about is obviously that he knows people who are Republicans, and he's obviously not trying to. He's not an extremist like the rest of these people. But it's interesting to me because if there's this hit piece from Axios talking about how there's a plot to get rid of Fetterman, then I'll tell you what this is. And we talked about it a couple months ago on this show. We said there was an article that was in, what was it? I think it was on CNN Premium or whatever it was. It was, but essentially the article was, who will rid us of this troublesome priest is what the name of the article really should have been. It's just, and it's talking about Fetterman. They can't stand him. They can't stand that he's going against their messaging, yet he's a Democrat. They are, the progressive wing of the Democrat Party is out for blood against Fetterman because he is attacking them and actually being normal. And you're not allowed to be normal. You have to be a gay communist to be a Democrat now. That's the only way it works. You must be gay and you must be communist to be a Democrat. That's the only way it works now. So it's very interesting to me that he's out here talking about this, and there's immediately a hit piece in Axios for it. So that's interesting. So what's the story on this? I'm actually very curious now.
Yeah, so the story is, I put this out today. If you guys go to my profile, I'll reshare it so you guys can find it again. And I'll read to you exactly what their beef is with Fetterman. So here, I'll repost it. So this is from Axios. And essentially, here we are. So you guys can look at the piece yourself, but here, I'll read it to you. So top Democrats in Pennsylvania are maneuvering to run against Senator John Fetterman in a 2028 primary contest, threatening to tear the party apart in the biggest battleground state in the nation. Why it matters, they say. Democrats haven't flipped a GOP Senate seat since Fetterman did it in 2022. He's still popular with Pennsylvania voters, even as Democrats turn on him over his softened approach to President Trump. Bro, that shit doesn't work anymore. All right, bullet point. Potential Democratic challengers are already bashing Fetterman and each other years ahead of schedule. Bullet point. Some Democratic officials are openly contemplating running against Fetterman or keeping the door open to a Senate seat bid in the event that he retires. And what does the big picture mean, they say? Democrats who could run against Fetterman include Reps Brennan Boyle, Chris DeLuzio, and former Rep Connor Lamb, according to multiple political insiders inside Pennsylvania. Quote, bullet point, Boyle has been loudly critical of Fetterman on TV and social media. Like, look, I'm not going to read the rest of this shit. They're seeding a story inside Axios and pretending it's some kind of like bastion of like truth telling, and like it's just a natural, organic story that's being told. People like Lamb has won praise from progressives like Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for repeatedly attacking Fetterman, who beat Lamb in the 2022 Democratic primary. This is like Democrats jockeying for control over either Fetterman or whoever's going to be the incumbent moving into his district in Pennsylvania. And they're seeding it into Axios.
So it's more of the same then. It's more of the who will rid us of this troublesome priest is essentially what it is. It's more of the same, which, and this is, again, the point is that, he's not gay and communist enough for them. Go ahead, Jack Tron.
Well, I think it's not just because that Fetterman is, sane. It's also because he's the most pro-Israel Democrat on Capitol Hill. So, and of course, that's never going to play well to the increasingly crazy, and, the Palestinian base now. So I think that's another reason that they've been wanting to get him out for a while.
That's possible, yeah. I mean, that's what they really hate Fetterman on, because that's where it started for him, where they started really getting after him. They started going after him on the foreign policy stuff because he was just like, he was not against, destroying Hamas, which, sorry, guys, no one cares. I like President Trump's comment on that. Just kill him. We'll come kill you if you keep screwing around. Like, just try me. Just try me. I'll come kill you all. I love that the president can talk like that. It just makes me so happy. But anyway, so that's pretty much it for us, guys. Unless we've got something else directly pressing, guys, is that it for the evening?
I believe that's it.
Okay, guys. Well, then this is the Political Theater, guys. Weeknights at 9. Thank you guys for showing up this evening. Thank you guys for being here. This was a pretty good show this evening. We actually didn't have any that, like, amazingly, I don't think we had any technical problems, Trash. That is incredible. We had one space crash, but a space crash is, we have to have at least 7 of those a week before we have any before we start really complaining about them. So anyway, so thank you guys for showing up this evening. This is the Political Theater, Weeknights at 9. Make sure you guys follow us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, everywhere that you can possibly get this podcast. It is going to be as many places as we can possibly get it. And maybe one day I'll even break down and get it on Facebook. Maybe. I don't know. It's going to be a long day before I get it onto Facebook,
Maybe
guys.
one day it will actually matter.
Yeah.
So here we go.
That's right.
No,
But
I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, guys, fucking listen.
Right.
Seriously, guys.
Yeah, well, it just... Go ahead.
Shake loose of the social media programming, guys.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, so we'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for more of the theater, guys. Thank you guys for showing up, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Some folks are born with a liberty spark, their hearts beat red, white, and blue. When the anchors sneer and the cameras bark, they turn the lens right back at you. Truth bound, ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not the party line sons, no, we ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so... Some folks inherit silk-lined halls, spend our sweat while preaching share. But when the tax man wraps his knuckles raw, their mansions suddenly look bare, impaired. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not their banker-raised hares, no. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so... Yeah, some paint stars on press room lies and send the common men to toil. Ask them, how much truth will you trade tonight? They mutter, more noise, more noise, more noise. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. Not the theater's pawns, friend. It ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're America's steadfast one. No, we won't be spun.